Hello, everybody. Today I'm just gonna do a little art stream. Just gonna clean up this drawing I've been working on. I haven't worked on it in a minute. Just gonna do a little cleanup of this drawing and go from there. Just chill session. All right. So yeah, if you like me, see, feel free to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitch, YouTube, Patreon, and all the major social media platforms at Javon Hall Art. And links are in the bio. All right. I'm listening to a true crime podcast as I'm working. So, chill session today.
Bada bing, bada boo.
A church in South Carolina has gone viral recently, even widely talked about on the national news, and it all starts with a few very strange sermons. A younger looking pastor by the name of Pastor JP is on stage giving a sermon. He says, "If you ever want to know what's going on in my life, it's always what I'm preaching about. God is so good to do that every single time. One day, I'm going to preach about getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus. That's what I'm going to do." I'm just kidding. I told you I shouldn't be here today. I shouldn't be here today. He holds both of his hands up like he's surrendering, and it's kind of the whole congregation laughs. But maybe it's a slightly uncomfortable laugh, because there on his ring finger, on his left hand, is a wedding band. Pastor JP is talking about finding a hot wife that loves Jesus when he's already married to his wife, who is also very active in the church. It's weird. It's humiliating for his wife. It sounds like he wants a new wife. Honestly, that's what it sounds like.
Like he has very weird humor. Is that what it looks like? Or he's not being serious?
It sounds like he's being a little serious, but he's trying to laugh it off.
And people don't know how to react.
Yes. It rubs a lot of people the wrong way, as it should. But that's not even what makes these sermon videos circulate all over mainstream media and on social media. It's not until a few weeks later, Pastor JP gives another sermon. Pastor JP is standing in front of his congregation where he says in this high-pitched, shaky voice, "I got to lay next to her, spend time with her about 4 times this week, and each time it still didn't hit me."
I thought she was going to wake up. I even tried to raise her from the dead one time this week. And,
What?
This sermon is from his wife's funeral after she was found dead in a national park. A sermon Pastor JP gives on how he tried to resurrect his wife from the dead because he couldn't believe it. But in that sermon, he fails to mention that she was in the process of separating from him. She had alleged that he groomed her since she was 15 years old, that he was allegedly having an affair with another woman from the church, and a long list of allegations of abuse that have been made against him.
What? That is
was omitted
crazy.
from the sermon. This is the case of Micah Miller, and everyone wants to know, what exactly happened to the pastor's wife?
That is crazy.
We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support Justice for Micah's GoFundMe. Her sister Sierra Francis has taken on the full-time job of managing the family's fight for justice. This GoFundMe campaign serves to assist the family with legal fees as they fight to get answers in what could be probably a very long, complicated judiciary and investigative process. All the GoFundMe information, where to donate. They even have t-shirts where the proceeds will go towards supporting the family. They have engraved bracelets, memorabilia, a gallery wall, tip line. Any and all of that information will be in the description. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team. We would also like to thank our listeners for your continued support as we work on our mission to be worthy advocates. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. A few quick disclaimers on today's case. Everything covered in the episode is what was available at the time that this episode was filmed. The investigation is still underway, meaning almost anything can change. We will do our best to keep you updated with possibly a pinned comment below if there's any major updates. However, we do encourage you to check Justice for Micah's webpage. They have an updates tab. As for content warnings, there is mention of self-exit, DV, allegations of SA, child SA, grooming, struggles with mental health, and brief mentions of religious trauma. The discourse surrounding religious trauma involves Christianity specifically. However, the events, behaviors, and even quotes from people involved in this case are inaccurate representations of Christianity as a whole. And one last disclaimer for today's case. There have been 0 charges, 0 convictions, even official persons of interest, let alone suspects in today's case. As of the date that this is published, the official manner of death has been ruled a self-exit with no foul play involved. All the following is alleged. The information is available online, netizen speculations, and in the States, you are innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Some statements have been condensed for time, but these are all things to keep in your mind. This episode is also not to cast any suspicion on anyone or any parties in particular, nor is it made to sway your opinion on somebody. So with that being said, let's get started. A very bizarre video of the local pastor of South Carolina goes viral. This time it's not a sermon, but it is of Pastor JP. He's laying on the grass with his cheek up against the ground. His face is almost all smushed into the grass. It looks like he was about to get out of his car, but his whole body went limp and he dives face first into the grass. He's like half in his car, half on the grass.
Weird.
And it just looks like, for some reason, someone put super glue onto the grass because he's not getting up. His face is not moving. It feels like he's stuck in that position. His palms are just digging into the ground. The video is taken by a worried passerby who knew Pastor JP, but also knew that Pastor JP was recently upset because his wife was leaving him. He had 5 kids that were no longer going to have both parents in the house, and he was just going through a lot. The person recording asks, "What's the matter? Are you okay? What's the matter?" JP starts talking, and this JP stands for John Paul, by the way.
How old is John Paul?
At this point, he's probably, okay, wait. It was 2015. He's 44 today. So like 34?
35?
Yeah, he's like 35 in the video.
Oh, wow.
JP starts talking in this incredibly high-pitched voice. It's so high-pitched, it sounds like he inhaled a helium balloon. I switched medications today. It makes me go crazy.
Okay. But you got Mark coming?
Okay, but you got Mark coming to help you, right? He continues to blubber between sentences and he starts sobbing. I feel these ants. They keep biting me everywhere. Is your medication something they gave you? Yeah, they were drunk. They were doing this in their days as they were something. There's ants all over me. It feels like there's ants on you?
He's still on the ground?
Yes. The pastor starts crying in the grass, like this high-pitched whining sound. There's no ants on you, though. It's just, maybe that's how you feel, JP, but there's no ants on you. There's none on the grass. I'm gonna see Jesus. I'm gonna see Jesus. No. I just need to get to you, Jesus. I just need to get to you, Jesus. I just want it to happen quickly. I don't want anything to steal me. Don't look at them, please. Don't look at them, Jesus. I just want to be able to talk to them in bed at night. They're getting in my head now. I'm afraid. I just look at my room all day and look at the ceiling and I wonder what my kids are doing, what my wife is doing. I don't want my mom anywhere near. They're crazy. I want to get off medication and this is what it does. They're crazy. I can't eat. I can't sleep. I can't do nothing. I feel like ants in my eyes. I can't open up my eyes.
Like, sounds like he's under something?
Yeah, there were allegations. Okay, from a third-party perspective, I'm not saying this is what happened, but considering the religious context, some people say that he looks possessed. Some people say it looks like a drug psychosis. Some people say it looks like a mental breakdown. But it's definitely not normal behavior at all. Now, the pastor goes completely silent, almost catatonic silent, just laying there breathing, and the neighbor starts zooming in on his face. It seems like either Pastor JP is losing it or perhaps in some sort of, like I said, psychosis. The video itself is very alarming and just unsettling, bizarre. I'm not even sure what the right word for it is. It's just a very strange video, made even more strange by the fact that this is a pretty well-known pastor in South Carolina. That's the subject of this video. But the timing of this video being posted onto Facebook and the caption that is uploaded along with it makes the video even more intriguing. The video was posted onto Facebook May 10th of this year, 2024, a few weeks after Pastor JP's wife was found dead in a national park. The caption reads,
Odd.
I believe the saying goes, getting a taste of your own medicine. And I mean that quite literally. You have used and abused for way too long, JP, only to get up on that pulpit and consistently discredit your victims by airing out intentionally degrading and inappropriate personal information. Doing that allows you to control the narrative. Now we have the death of your wife that you claim only took her life because of mental illness. Fact is, JP, nobody was ever mentally ill until they met you. You are the common denominator in all of this. This video is only proof that you yourself have issues and you know what medication can do to someone. JP, I could have done this anonymously, meaning the poster could have posted this video anonymously. But I want you to see it's coming from me, so you don't go after anybody else. You know I've got receipts, and you know I'm not scared. I have never met anyone like you. But what I've learned is, and what I've been taught is, people like you repeat their behavior and every so often they slip up and show who they really are. Solid Rock Church, let me introduce you to your pastor. You don't see this version on Sundays. This is the guy that you allow to give you and your family counsel. The guy you share your personal vulnerable information with that he will use against you.
There's always a reason to smile through the 33rd email from Debbie in accounting. For this and every reason, there's good life.
There's no place like home, because home is where we're totally comfortable. It's where we can be ourselves and let our guards down. It's where we make memories, dance, cuddle, and love. And whether it's big, small, yellow,
You when and if you question him. To the ones who are the reason that I'm involved in all of this, I hope you understand why I had to do this. Enough is enough. Some want to raise awareness and most want justice. Well, Godspeed, JP. If you know, you know. Internet, do your thing. Hashtag justice for Micah. And many others.
Wait, so the video was taken in 2015,
Yes.
and in 2024, this year, Micah passed away.
Yes.
And then a few weeks later, video was posted.
Yes.
Do you know who posted it?
A neighbor and someone that I guess is familiar with the church. And this is the caption that he posts along with it. So at first, when Micah passed away, it seems like the news was very much retained in that local area of South Carolina. And slowly as things start developing, such as this Facebook post, it becomes national news because it's so cryptic. What does this mean?
Yeah.
I mean, people are just trying to figure out, like, what the hell is going on in that small church in South Carolina? What did Pastor JP do? Pastor JP's wife filed for divorce October 2023. In the divorce document, she claims that her husband, Pastor JP, cheated on her multiple times. In an affidavit sent to her attorney, she writes, "Since the day we became husband and wife, I have been abused in every way I can think of, emotionally, sexually, spiritually, financially, and physically. He has harassed me physically and electronically with letters, phone calls, emails, and texts. He's hacked into my emails, hacking my personal Facebook, and impersonating me, using my stolen phone to send texts and emails out to church members pretending to be me, texting friends and family saying that I'm sleeping with teenagers from our church, and showing up in person at places around town. He has installed 3 different tracking devices on my vehicle." This was sent to her attorney 9 days before Micah Miller, the wife, would be found dead in a marsh.
What day? When was she found?
April 27th. 4 days after her death, sources state that Pastor JP was out seen at a bar with his alleged mistress. Pastor JP decides to have a premarital sermon series. This was a while back before his wife passed. He believed these are sermons every couple should be ministered before getting married. This is like the most valuable lesson of marriage and being in a relationship that he can pass on to his congregation. The sermon was going to be broken up into 2 different parts. One would be about every man's battle in a marriage. The other would be about every woman's battle in a marriage. That's what he titled them. During the man's battle sermon, he starts off by saying, "Every man's battle is looking at things that do not belong to us and lusting after those things.
How can you tell a loose woman just by the way she looks?
If she doesn't wear a bra or if her bathing suit in the back barely covers up her crack. And if every picture on social media is either in a bikini or showing off her chest, that's how a man can tell if a woman is loose. So if your daughter dresses like that, I don't want to say be ashamed because that's not godly. If your daughter dresses like that, you need to be convicted of it and teach her how to be a modest girl and a modest woman, because every unsaved man in the entire world is looking to see bra, bikini, thongs and what she shows on Facebook. That's how you can tell a loose one. And every man in this room knows exactly what I'm talking about. That's why all of our faces are so red right now. Listen, ladies, you don't want a man to want you for what you look like and what you're flaunting off. Listen, once you lose that body, you're going to lose the man. He also states that there are 3 reasons why a married couple does not have healthy intimacy. The 3 reasons are, number 1, there's an explicit video addiction somewhere in the marriage. One of them is addicted to porn. 2, there's a negative or unkind spouse, because a man would rather, unfortunately, this is sick and sad, a man would rather have a computer screen than a woman who's unkind and nagging and fault finding and negative. I mean, in a heartbeat. And most men, they'd rather have a computer or a phone than a woman who's always fussing and griping about something. Or the 3rd reason, homosexual struggles. Yeah.
Wow.
But there's a way to fix that, he says. That means every wife in here is in a very powerful position. You're in a position of, you've got great responsibility. If you make excuses, if you're negative, okay, I promise you Satan has a computer image right around the corner. Don't refuse sex to each other. Do you know that you can actually help your husband in the area not be tempted by you being a giver in this area? That's amazing, amazing. That's why when you walk as a married couple, you make sure both of you are 100% satisfied. He also tells the wives to not speak too much about their husband's failures or else he will never open up. He says, if you say to a man, you did such a good job painting that wall, he hears success, success, success. I love you, I'm attracted to you, success. I want you, success. If you say you never pick up your socks off the ground, failure, failure, failure. I've worked 40 hours this week, I'm paying the bills and I take care of the kids, and that's what you want to bring up? My socks, that I'm a failure? I don't want you, get out of my life. That's how a man's gonna feel. You have to be very careful when you talk to a man to make him a success. He says one of his favorite pastors had once said, if a man knows when he fails, he will be seen as a failure, he will never repent. He will never change and never be healed. But if a man knows when he fails that there's somebody there who will pray for him, give him counseling, encourage him, and get him restored, that man will step forward and repent every single time. He says, I want every wife in here to know that if your husband faithfully tithes, which means he has financial wisdom. Tithing is offering. You give money to the church. To the church he owns, by the way. I want every wife in here to know if your husband faithfully tithes, which means he has financial wisdom, if he serves in church and he's willing to do whatever it takes to be free from pornography, he is in the top 1% of men in the entire world. Hallelujah. Now, he may eat Doritos in bed. He may leave his dirty drawers hanging around in the living room. I don't know. But he may have some other issues in there. But for heaven's sake, shut your mouth and love that man. And thank God he's in the 1% of men. The next week was a segment for Every Wife's Battle. During the Every Wife's Battle, he asks the crowd what they think every woman's battle is. And they finally start responding out loud. And he jokes, it's obviously your mouth. No, I'm joking. Calm down. The truth is, ladies do speak more than men. And so the Bible says the more you talk, the more you're likely to sin.
Most of the gossip comes from ladies. Most of the negativity does come from ladies.
I'm sorry. It's just because you talk the most. We think it, y'all say it. This is kind of ironic coming from someone who yaps for
That's true.
hours every Sunday.
That is true.
And I don't mean this in a crude way, but if I were to preach to the ladies today, to the wives about the words that come out of your mouth, that would be the equivalent to me preaching to the men last week about adultery or masturbation. The greatest enemy a woman will ever face in her life is not her ex-husband. It's not her parents that did not affirm her. It's not her boss. It's not the devil. The greatest enemy a woman will ever face in life is the battle that's going on inside her mind. You ladies, y'all can think 1,000 things at once. The smallest thing can happen and you can visualize the divorce and think about 20 things that if someone offends you today in church, you got a list of 20 things they did that offended you before and it all comes to the forefront of your mind. He then brings up a visual of a man's brain and a woman's brain. He says, Men have about 6 thoughts. That's about it. Men think about money, work, they think about food, sex, sleep, and I'm going to be kind and say they also think about God. Other than that, men don't think about nothing. Yeah, that men should not be in power. Then he says that this is what a woman's brain looks like. Does this dress make me look bad? I can't believe my husband wore this today. I don't like the person that's sitting next to me. Are my kids okay? I'm tired. I should have been. Am I a good mom? Am I a bad mom? I bought McDonald's for the kids last night. Ah, what's wrong with me? I can't believe this sermon. He's gonna minister to me. I don't know if I remember that scripture. Not that. Wait, do I have my Bible with me? All these thoughts. He said he compares a woman's mind to a hoarder's house, very cluttered, completely cluttered, and everybody else can see it too. He says, he also compares the clutter in a woman's mind to be equivalent to a man committing adultery. If you go and think, my husband never closes the pantry door, and you want to bring it up every time, you have to tell yourself, what if he never closes it for the rest of your marriage? Are you still going to be married to him? Of course you are. Then why bring it up? Why even think about it? Is it that big of a deal? And you think, well, no, it's not that big of a deal. Then don't bring it up if it's not that big of a deal. Of all the great things he does, and that's the one thing you're going to talk about, is that he doesn't close the cabinet doors. Just close them and let it go. Which obviously, as a woman with a very cluttered mind, I find great errors and faults in this very skewed way of thinking. But at least some people could argue, at least Pastor JP walks the talk. He's a great husband. He's in a loving marriage. Maybe he knows something. Maybe we're just spiteful people who need to find purpose. One day, JP's wife comes home and finds him in a compromising position with the babysitter, the girl that watches their children, in their house, the one that JP has known since she was 15 years old, the one that he has been a mentor to for most of her teens, I would say, the one that would listen to JP no matter what because she believed he was a man of God and would give her guidance. JP was having an affair with that girl, the babysitter, Micah.
This is how we made our workflow better than ever with Monday.com. It gave our team one.
So Michael is
That's crazy.
his second wife?
Yes, and there's a lot of sentiment towards this because the first wife, you would think that she hates her ex-husband and probably the woman that had an affair with her husband. Mm-hmm. However, you'll see that the first wife maintains a close friendship with Micah. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We're going to get into it. A fisherman named Johnny was out in the Lumber River Park for a few hours now. He's out in the water. This is in South Carolina. He's enjoying his Saturday. He's drifting up and down, trying to be as still as possible so he doesn't scare the fish away. Lumber River Park is well known for having these incredibly smooth, incredibly slow water currents, making it very perfect for fishermen, kayakers, canoers of all skill levels. The average water current in the river is a striking 2 miles per hour. You know what else moves at 2 miles per hour? Ants. So it's very slow. It's not really a river.
Wow.
It's perfect for Johnny and other fishermen. There's a lot of alligators as well in the park, so you have to be careful. Perhaps that's why Johnny never goes swimming in the water. He basically only ever stays in his boat. He'll find a little spot, cast a line, and just sit in the safety of his boat. There's thick trees on both sides of the river, but people say the river feels more like a marsh. The water is that deep, dark green with the tree roots twisting into the riverbank. Now, it's mid-afternoon when Johnny first hears it. He hears someone crying, and he can't really make it out. It's very distant. According to reports, he heard it for just a few minutes, but when he looked around the riverbank to see if anybody was there crying, he would try to look into the tree lines, but it was so thick he couldn't see anything. Johnny himself said that if he had seen someone, he would have checked up on them all day. But all he heard was a soft, distant cry that lasted a few minutes, and then it stopped. The next thing he heard was a gunshot. But when he sits up and looks around, there's nothing. It's quiet. The crying has stopped. The gunshot is gone. Later that day, Johnny finds what he said was what do the ladies call fanny packs. It was just a few feet from the water's edge. It was black. It had a couple of items in there, including $500 in cash, a cell phone, and a small Bible.
She had her keys in the bag. She had a little small Bible, all of her credit cards, her bank cards, and a few receipts of some things. And maybe 5 minutes after getting into the slough, I heard a cry. a faint cry. Heard it for maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Johnny discovers that the police were investigating the Lumber River Park. He hands the bag to the police and all of the contents inside. And inside, the police find everything Johnny had said would be in there, plus a small wallet. The ID reads Micah Miller. The police would also locate Micah's black Honda Civic. The car tank is full of gas, and inside is a homemade sandwich that had been packed that remained untouched. In the cup holder is an open Celsius energy drink that was bought at a gas station recently. And shortly after, the police find Micah dead in the water from a gunshot wound. JP's first wife, Allison, states about finding out that her husband at the time was having an affair with Micah. She said, "Prior to my knowledge of JP's sexual relationship with Micah during our marriage, both Micah and Micah's husband at the time, Jeremy, became very close to our family. And to some degree, I took Micah under my wing as my older daughter. I taught her to drive. I took her to get her driver's license. I allowed her to take care of our children, shared family meals together in our home, provided her guidance and advice, and she even began working in the church." Which I think that Allison has every right to be upset at whoever she wants to be upset with in this situation. But she continues, "Despite the initial destruction caused by JP's infidelity for several years, there was a part of me that was relieved to know that Micah would be present in the home when JP had periods of visitations with our children. I viewed her as a safety net for our children." Which is a very interesting thing. I mean, nobody would blame Allison for having a little bit of anger or resentment for all the parties involved, but she still trusts Micah more than her own ex-husband, more than the father of her own children. Why? Maybe it has something to do with the fact that some people believe, a lot of people believe, that Micah is not really the other woman. Like, you know how in situations like this, people might think, okay, he's cheating, this is the other woman, right? But a lot of people allege that this might have been part of JP's plan, allegedly. Some people speculate and allege that maybe he had been having relations with Micah, not sexually, maybe emotionally, mentally. Maybe he was manipulating her since she was 15. Micah joined JP's church when she was 15 years old, and he was the youth pastor. JP takes Micah under his wing, and since she's 15, he is kind of her mentor, leader in life. When she turns 18, he officiates her wedding to a guy named Jeremy, who also happens to be a close friend of JP's. So some people even speculate it's like he's deciding what she's going to do with her life. The vibe that people get is that her and Jeremy did not just like fall in love naturally. It seems kind of it was recommended, it was set up to a degree. Jeremy also works for the church, and Micah starts working as his babysitter. JP would have his wife, Allison, who also works for the church, and Jeremy, Micah's husband at the time, out doing church stuff while he and Micah allegedly were home alone with the kids. He would allegedly shower her with compliments the whole time and take her to lunch while their spouses were working at the church, and he's the one telling them what to do with the church. One person close to the couple said, JP just has this way of taking over someone's mind. Micah and Jeremy would spend a lot of time at the Miller's house, rehearsing for music for the church. It just seemed kind of suspicious that they would always be hanging out, always together. He always had them around. It's like JP did it underhandedly to subliminally get into Micah's mind. He had her wrapped around his little finger, and she would jump even when she was married to Jeremy. He did it in such a sneaky way, and she was just a sweet person. A lot of people did not feel like this was a more typical situation of a husband leaving his wife for a younger woman. More so, the sentiment seemed that the husband allegedly grooms a young girl until he believes that she's fully under his control, and then he leaves his wife for her. That's what people felt the situation was. But either way, people felt they can only speculate from the outside. It was a huge scandal at the church, but eventually most third-party outsiders, they get over it and they just hope for the best for all parties. In 2017, about 2 years after JP and Allison separate, Pastor JP calls on his congregation to come to the beach for a baptism. Micah is there with him, obviously, and is standing in the sand looking out into the ocean, and this plane drives by or flies by with a banner, and the banner reads, "Will you marry me, Micah?" Micah has no reaction. She glances around. The whole church is clapping and cheering, and she leans into Pastor JP and asks, Why is everyone cheering? She didn't have her contact lenses in, so she couldn't read the sign. And it was kind of a cute proposal story, and the whole church, or at least the members of the church that stayed, were very excited and hopeful for this new chapter, this new love story, I guess.
What's their age gap at that point? Or their age gap in
14
general?
years. This was in 2017, but when she was 15, he would have been much older. And the people that did stay at the congregation, I think that the problem is it's very hard to hate on JP and Micah as a couple, primarily because it's very hard to hate Micah. Everybody said that she's just the sweetest. That's how everybody describes her. She's just the most loving person that you could imagine. Even Allison, the first wife, maintains a good relationship with Micah after her split with Pastor JP. So November 7th, 2017, at 23 years old, Micah marries JP, the pastor that she has known since she was 15, the one that officiated her first marriage when she was 18, and now she is marrying her longtime leader and mentor, 37-year-old JP. She would take on the role of being the pastor's wife and being a stepmom to 5 children. And yes, the way that their marriage begins is alarming, and it causes a bit of a stir at the church. I would imagine because of the major power imbalance, the affair, the fact that he's known her since she's 15 and he was 29 at the time, the fact that he was her mentor and pastor during those formative years, the fact that she's 23 and he has 5 kids that she's going to be a stepmom to. Like I said, the fallout was pretty big. It stated that a lot of people left the congregation. But the ones that stayed said, okay, well, hopefully JP is going to treat his wife this time the way God intended him to. But perhaps old sins die hard. A few years into the marriage, the gossip in the community was JP's son had joined the local soccer team, made friends with another boy whose parents are also part of the church. Well, now JP is allegedly sleeping with that kid's mom. So his son's soccer buddy's mom. Her name is Susie, and she is married. Now, both of them have denied the affair, but according to JP's ex-wife, Allison, it was pretty out in the open. It didn't seem like they were trying to hide it. Allison said JP would even use their son to facilitate play dates, if you will, with Susie and her son. And look, maybe Allison is at the stage where she's like, you, do whatever you want. You're my ex-husband. But she said that it was starting to impact the kids. She said the kids knew exactly what's going on between JP and Susie, and all their friends were talking about it, and it was causing their children stress and embarrassment. JP and Susie both deny having.
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need. With full business functionality and a design tailored just for you. Customize every element of your website and watch your vision come to life in minutes. Control everything from the
having the affair, like I said, but Allison refers to Susie as his paramour, aka his mistress. But it seems somehow JP was able to gaslight Micah into believing that it was just another woman coming onto him and he just lacked the guts to get rid of her. Again, this is all alleged, but allegedly in 2021, around August, Susie's husband, Chris, who is also part of the church, finds out what's going on between his wife and the pastor, and allegedly he confronts the pastor about the affair, and he tells him, you leave my wife and children alone. 2 weeks after this alleged confrontation, JP is up at the podium at the church, and he says,
We are here today. It's very, very exciting. I was Chris's pastor. To preach a funeral in which I don't have to lie. It's probably my first funeral where I get to say all the truthful stuff.
Funeral?
Pastor JP was leading Chris's funeral, Susie Skinner's husband. About a week before Chris Skinner's death, JP starts a sermon on a Sunday by saying, don't ever let a test tell you who you are. This is an evaluation tool to help you confirm and personally analyze yourself. We all need a vision. He said that we're going to be doing a DISC personality test, D-I-S-C, which each of the letters stand for character traits. D for being dominant, direct, decisive, results-oriented, confident, focused on accomplishing bottom-line results, strong-willed, and forceful. I, influence, people that are outgoing and enthusiastic, optimistic, people-oriented, focused on building relationships and influencing others, often seen as very persuasive and talkative. S is for steadiness, patient, accommodating, calm, consistent, focused on operation and maintaining stability, often seen as dependable and supportive. typically stands for conscientiousness, analytical and systematic, precise and accuracy focused, concerned with quality and competency, often seen as very careful and cautious people. JP tells the congregation that he took the test and he got incredibly depressed because he ranked D and I, dominant and influential. He said he wanted to be a pastor, and people don't like D's. They like the S's. The S's are the ones that are calm and sweet and steady. He said high D, their weaknesses, they're very direct. They're always thinking in their mind. No matter who's talking, they're always thinking this. Get to the point. They're impatient. They can't relax until a project is complete. They lack empathy. They're arrogant. And they can't say, I can't even read this. They can't say it. I can't read it. I was wrong.
Are these recorded?
Yes. Recorded and posted onto the church website and YouTube. He describes D's like himself as like a lion. Who dares provoke him? They're incredibly intimidating to confront. He starts listing off a list of high D personality types. The devil, Lucifer himself, Hillary Clinton, and Hitler are all high D's. He says the high D's, they fear nothing at all. The only thing they fear is not getting something done.
You know, this feels like someone, you take one of these BuzzFeed quiz, and then that's your whole personality. You're kind of like, I can't help myself.
Yes, and he acts like he doesn't want to be a high D, but he seems pretty boastful about being a high D.
Yeah, exactly. And come on, it's just a little quiz, not that serious.
Now, their sermon is uploaded to their YouTube channel September 5th, 2021. So it could have been filmed the Sunday before or even before then. But the timing is still quite interesting, and it's fascinating because September 6th, 2021, Chris Skinner, Susie Skinner's husband, is found dead. Chris Skinner, Susie's husband, this is the alleged mistress that he's cheating on Micah with. Chris Skinner is an author and inspirational speaker. He actually became a quadriplegic after being in a car accident with a drunk driver. He met Susie through his rehabilitation process, and it's said that she is the one that introduced him to the church and into Christianity. Since then, I mean, Chris just seems like the type of guy you go to when you need help. When you need someone to kind of give you some sort of guidance and inspiration, he was a very loved man. And then on September 6, 2021, he tragically died. He was found drowned in a community pool in Myrtle Beach. It's stated that his wheelchair tipped into the pool and he became trapped underneath it. Now, I do want to make it explicitly clear that the police stated there were no signs of foul play. CCTV footage from the community center showed that he had gone there alone and they had ruled his death an accident. JP's ex-wife, Allison, remember how she stated that JP would use their children to go hang out with Susie Skinner and it was bad for their kids. Well, she said that she confronted JP about exposing their children to the affair and not setting the right example by them. And she told them, don't ever let it happen again. Now, the interesting thing is, soon after this confrontation that she has with her ex-husband, Pastor JP calls her to tell her, hey, Susie's husband had died in a drowning accident. He sounds upset and he asks Allison, this is out of the blue, to please pray. Allison said just the timing of it all of it is just so bizarre. She said all of it was bizarre. But I do want to make it clear once again that there's absolutely nothing that connects JP Miller to the death of Chris Skinner. But some believe that Chris was driven to self-exit. There are reports that the CCTV footage that is obviously not public shows Chris alone at the pool and he drives his wheelchair directly into the pool, is what it alleges. Officially, his death has been ruled a tragic accident.
Why?
So this is all going on while Pastor JP is married to Micah.
Oh, random.
And also, you say Chris was at the pool by himself?
Yeah.
Is that something that he usually do? Is that something that happens? Like,
it doesn't appear that way.
Right? Like, it's kind of, the setting is very strange for him
very
to be
odd.
there. Yeah.
Micah has a very close friend by the name of Charlotte. Charlotte said she received a very bizarre message a little while before Micah was found dead. She said it was weird. She probably thought it was an accident at the time, at least initially. But she said that she had been added into a group chat with Micah and Micah's husband, JP.
On what?
Just text message. She gets added into this group chat with Micah, JP, and suddenly Charlotte is in there. They're not planning a trip. Charlotte doesn't even live in Myrtle Beach. She lives in Virginia now. It was just out of the blue. She gets invited into this group chat and she gets a text message from JP. The message reads, "I would leave anyone or anything for you. I'm only asking for the same respect." Charlotte is like, what is going on right now? It's like being a fly on the wall for a marital fight. Why is she even in this group chat right now?
Can they see she's in there?
Yes, they added her. JP continues, "You can't treat someone like shit and then
The art
leave.
looks good.
You're
Thank you
supposed to
very much.
work it out.
Appreciate that.
Stay and do whatever it
Yeah, I'm
takes.
just
Please don't be selfish.
working
This
on an
one
old
time,
drawing
I'm
and
literally
sketching.
begging you to do the right thing,
Let's
the
do a
godly
true
thing,
crime
the only thing that
podcast.
will work.
How are
I
you,
need
though?
you. I want you, and I don't want to sleep alone ever. But if you choose this, I will not beg you to come back. I won't put up with this again. This is literally your last chance to make things right. I'm too old, too hurt, and you have put me through too much to continue letting you treat me like shit while I pay for your bills and do whatever you want. I need you to act like a godly wife this one time and prioritize your marriage over your family, friends, and feelings." Clearly, he's talking to his wife, Micah, and Charlotte is Micah's friend. Why would he add her? Clearly, they're in a fight. What does Charlotte have anything to do with this? JP then sends another lengthy text message. "Charlotte is in this text so she can hold me accountable for this. What you've done..."
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So kind. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by.
in our marriage this time is totally unacceptable and no man
But
will
I'm
put
used
up
to it,
with
you know.
it. But
You
I'm
slowly
willing
have
to give you
to
one
build
more
up your
chance.
following all stuff.
I'm asking,
Yeah.
one, that you repent.
I figure, why not
Two,
stream?
hear my heart and pretend like you
Why
understand.
not stream anyways? Because I'll be drawing by myself anyway, so I might as well stream it. And people stop by, cool. People don't, it's alright. Still good do it. Thank you, Random Fandom Animates.
Understand why I'm hurt.
Well, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. At least it's something to listen to.
3, come home now. If you don't do these things that will help me feel loved, safe, and prioritized, then our marriage is officially over and I cannot allow my heart to be put through this ever again. I love you and I'm willing to do whatever it takes, but I will not be treated this way and defamed so horribly anymore. Nobody responds. I mean, what do you respond to that? He allegedly texts again. "We used to be the best of friends and I'm shocked that you would throw all of that away. Maybe it's because you want to live with Charlotte. Why would you want to live with her? Or should I tell her? Go ahead, Charlotte. Ask Micah why she would want so badly to stay with you. Please ask her. I'd love to hear how honest she is. Since she threw me under the bus today with my church elders after everything else you've done. By
What's
9
going
a.m., there will
on?
be nothing left inside this house that has anything
Thank
to
you
do
for
with you. If you want
subscribing.
your
Appreciate
clothes, shoes,
that.
jewelry, pictures, furniture, books, anything that is an attachment
Thank
to
you very much,
then you need to
Random
be here
Fandom
before 9 a.m.
Animates.
Everything is going to go
Thank you for
well.
subscribing.
Finally, Micah responds in the group chat. "Why are you being
Thank
crazy?
you.
I just
That's so
wanted to
kind of
visit
you.
my sister."
I appreciate that.
Why put your sister
I hope
before
you
your
have a great
husband?
day as well.
That's the continual problem. Once, just once, put your husband first. Micah responds, "I make 100 decisions a day that put you first. No wife would do this to her husband in the most desperate time of need. I'm coming to you. You're a horrible wife to do this. When I arrive, I'm going to raise hell. Your siblings are going to be up all night. If you leave now, I'll turn around. If you come now, you are trespassing. I don't care."
There's always a reason to carry your aging 100-pound dog up the stairs.
Here, skip these commercials.
For the
Pair. Ha ha ha. That's funny. You can call the cops. You did this. Charlotte would later ask Micah what that was about, and allegedly, this whole fight between JP and Micah starts because Pastor JP
That's
wanted
good.
to
So you
play a
do art
little
as well
game that
too?
night. He said it would be fun.
I'm curious to see
and he
some of
kept
your
asking his
art.
wife Micah all these fun little
Yeah,
questions.
I try to
and
do
one
art,
of
but
them
it gets
was,
sometimes like
if
it's
you
busy.
had to kiss a girl,
So
which
when I
girl
have
would
free
it
time,
be?
I try to draw as much as I can.
She said, "What? No, I'm not responding to that.
kind of
I'm
art
not
do you do?
answering that." Micah did not want to answer this question. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. And maybe she knew that he would lash out at her regardless of who she picks, even though he keeps saying it's just a game, allegedly. But he keeps asking, allegedly. So finally, she just responds, "Charlotte," because she wouldn't tell. Like, she's making a joke. You know, you don't kiss and tell. And also, Charlotte is like one of her best friends. And this explosively leads into a massive fight, it is alleged, where Micah leaves to stay with her sister for a bit to cool off. If this is true, then this is very concerning. It seems like if Micah doesn't get away from this guy, something very bad is going to happen very soon.
just the behavior of dragging another person into a group chat, that is so
sick.
Yeah, like he's obviously doing it to his advantage. Like I don't even know how to describe that, right? Like
it's a setup is how I feel. If this is true, if this happened, and I say that for legality purposes, my personal opinion is I don't know, that would be a very bizarre lie to make up, but who knows? Never say never, right? There are text messages that have been released. Those messages have been released.
Oh, those have been released.
Yes,
so it
but
happened.
It's alleged because it hasn't been confirmed, and I don't think that we can confirm that's his phone number and he was the one texting on it. You get the legality. But it feels like a setup to me where somebody asks you a question and they're like, no, it's for fun.
Oh, yeah,
and then you respond. And then the part where he texts Charlotte and is like, ask her why she would want to live with you.
Yeah.
It's making it into something that it never was. And I'm sure,
I
especially
do anime and
considering
cartoon drawings, but I
his
really
sentiments
post it.
for
What else do you use?
relationships.
Oh, I use
and the fact that he
Photoshop.
thinks one
That's
of the
cool.
3 reasons that
That's why I started off
heterosexual
drawing. I
relationship
draw
cannot
like
be
mostly like
intimate is
cartoons
because
and animes
someone
and
is
stuff
having
like that
quote
too as well.
homosexual thoughts. I mean, I feel like he's probably putting a very strong stigma.
You
Like,
just draw
I
my
think
favorite
it's-
characters.
Yeah,
and
he's
been-
homophobic.
he's also like humiliating her in front of her friends.
Yes.
And just imagine like doing that in public.
Now, October 2023, Micah files for divorce, and it seems like her life spirals into a living hell after this. She's separated from her husband, but everything is falling apart. One day, Micah is in her car, and she's pulling out of the parking lot, and she
How
hears
was that
this
program,
bizarre popping
IPS
noise.
Paint? I never heard of
She
that
gets
one.
out, and she sees metal protruding from her tire, a razor blade. This is the second time that she's found a razor blade in her tire that week. A Myrtle Beach police officer helps her change her tire so that she can drive to a dealership to get a new tire. The cop tells her it kind of looks like a tire deflation device that you can buy online, meaning someone might have purchased this with their own money for the purpose of deflating her tire, aka slashing her tire. Micah drives to the local dealership and they tell her something even more alarming. While we were under there, we found what looks like
I mean,
some
they
sort
draw
of tracking
Pokemon
device
and
on your car.
Demon Slayer characters.
I think someone's
Nice,
following
nice,
you.
nice.
They
Did
call
you try
the
to enter
police,
the
and while
Pokemon
the officer
Illustrator
is standing
contest?
there, Micah gets a phone call from an unknown number, JP. She hands the phone to the officer, and the officer tells JP, hey, look, your wife does not want anything to do with you. You keep this up, we might even be looking at a warrant
This is after she filed
for divorce.
in the process.
Yes. Now, that doesn't seem to do anything. It doesn't seem like anybody listens to her. The police don't really do anything. He doesn't really do anything. Because later, Micah would call the police again to state that the man she's avoiding approached her at a gas station. We have a video of this. She's in her car and she's filming JP walking away. And JP is saying, this video is going to be up on Facebook in a few hours. And Micah is saying,
Okay, no
you're
problem.
going
That's
to be in
okay.
jail in a few hours.
Yeah, it sounds
Walk
too stressful.
away.
It's okay to not do
away.
that.
Do you want to
Well,
go
yeah.
to jail?
They'll be on Facebook in a few hours.
I tried. It was fun. I didn't make the top
hours.
300. But next
Walk
time.
away.
Wait, why did he say that this video will be on Facebook?
I don't know. It seems like he's threatening to humiliate her.
Oh, he's recording too, or?
Yeah, so he's like recording her recording.
Oh.
According to News 13, Micah reported 4 instances of finding GPS trackers placed in her vehicle. But in response, it seems that JP claims that his wife is mentally unstable. He alleges that shortly after their wedding in 2017, she was diagnosed with bipolar 2, schizophrenia, and dependent personality disorder. He claims the GPS trackers on her car are for her own safety. He said as long as she takes her meds, she'd be fine, but he has reason to believe that she's not taking her meds. He alleges that Micah is doing all right until recently a couple of women from the church told her that mental illnesses can be prayed away, which allegedly led Micah to believe that she doesn't need the meds anymore, that she would be cured through prayer. He also alleges that she did not want to take her medication because it made her gain weight and made her slur her speech. That's why she allegedly starts spiraling, which, I mean, I couldn't find any evidence of her spiraling. And he felt the need to track her through her car for her own safety. The police take no action.
Interesting. Sounds
They
like just wants
stated that
control her.
because they're not divorced, their car is marital property. So technically placing a GPS tracker on marital property, I mean, that's not illegal. Which I don't know if there's different state laws. I don't know if that is legally correct, but that's what they allegedly stated. So they didn't do anything. There is a Facebook group that Pastor JP was part of, or allegedly a part of. And The Facebook group is called Big Boobs and Nice Curves. April 8th, a few weeks before Micah is found dead, she finds a picture of herself, a top...
You know what? I'm not saying nothing because I'll be a hypocrite as I'm drawing this drawing right now. But that's funny. That made me laugh. Alright, we'll continue.
Photo of herself posted to that Facebook group. She knows it's her, even though part of her breasts are blurred. She knows
I'll be
it's her
right
because
back.
whoever posted it tagged her old Facebook account. And there was only one person other than her that would have this photo because she's only sent it to one person. JP, Pastor JP. Micah reports it to the police, but they tell her since the photo was uploaded anonymously, there's no way to prove who even posted it.
Respectfully,
Additionally, they argue because
exactly,
she did
respectfully.
send that picture to somebody, they own the picture. So they could technically post it. And
Really?
well, so they said they can post it the way they posted it because the nipple part of the breast was blurred out, which means it does not meet the South Carolina Code of Law for nudity.
Was her face in there?
I don't know. Now, there was nothing the police could do. Micah gets an email a little while later from JP, allegedly, and it reads, "I'm sorry for putting a picture of you on the internet. It was for less than 1 hour and immediately taken down. I was hurt that you were telling everyone horrible, intimate details of my past sin, and I just wanted to try and hurt you. Please forgive me. It was evil for me to do that." It seems like Micah knew that she needed to leave this very toxic relationship. She was already in the process of leaving, but she was terrified. Micah had tried to leave before. January 2023, a little over a year before her death, she moved to Kansas to try and start fresh. She does have family in Kansas, from what I can tell. She joined a new church, she was making new friends, and it seemed like she was just trying to turn over a new leaf. But out of nowhere, she sends her sister a text message out of the blue that reads, "Hey, good news. I've been reconciled. My husband's allowing me to come back home. Praise God."
Wow.
It was just very odd. It didn't make any sense why Micah would go back. And obviously, if this were an abusive relationship like it is speculated and alleged, there's a lot of reasons why victims go back to their abuser. And it's not because they weren't being abused, and it's not because they want to be abused. There's so many reasons. And a lot of that has to do with gaslighting, manipulation, emotional control. And I'm not saying that's the situation here, but here is some insight on why Micah might go back. It's alleged that JP was constantly guilt-tripping her, using religion against her. He would try to gaslight her and manipulate her by bombarding her with text messages, messaging her family if she tried to ignore him. Apparently, he sent a message once after a fight that reads, "All of this started because of one bad decision a month ago in Colombia." Context clues, it sounds like he cheated on her in Colombia, is what people are gathering. But again, we don't know. "If I could turn back time, I would." He continues, "We had the greatest marriage in the world up until that one wrong choice. It can continue down that path, or we can have an amazing marriage once again. The choice is yours. If you come home today, we can take the rest of the year, go to counseling every day, go to Iceland, do whatever in order to get well. I also desperately want a child with you. I'm just scared of this. This is the only reason I wouldn't have a child. I'm scared of divorce or putting the child through things like this where you leave and aren't willing to do whatever it takes."
It sounded like he messed up, but his answer is like, you need to forgive.
Yes.
You need to choose to have a good marriage. Like, he's putting this all on her.
Yes, that's exactly the point. Like, it's up to you now. It's your choice. Like, he also brings up the fact that he desperately wants to have a child with her, which I'm not sure. Perhaps that could be a strong emotional trigger for her personally. And then he ends the message with, "But I'm scared of putting the child through things like this where you just leave." He starts off, if my context clues are correct, by addressing an alleged affair. And then in the length of one singular message, manages to make it
Turn it
her
around.
responsibility
Yeah.
and her fault. It also appears, in my opinion, that he uses religion against her. There are messages where he texts Micah's sister. Biblically, when your spouse needs you,
Give me a piece, I say cheese, 'cause this is my magic spell.
Okay, I am back. We're gonna skip this commercial here.
nothing else
Alright.
should come before that.
This
I
is
am
like
back.
a prime example what gaslighting is.
Yes.
Just
Implying, he needs Micah to come back and she's not coming back. He also sends messages like, I have a list of how we can make our marriage amazing and all will be okay. Or messages like, 5 years ago, me and Micah, Mark and Kay, Dan and Erica all got married in the same month. Now all of us are going through a divorce in the same month. If Micah actually cares, she will do exactly what God wants and do whatever it takes to make it work. One message reads, you win. I will allow you to completely destroy
Thank
me.
you.
Continue
I am
to hurt
back.
me and you
Random
leave,
fandom
but I'm
animates.
still begging for you back and do whatever it takes if you come home. You'll never find another man who loves you enough to do whatever it takes after you treat him the way you treat me. According to an affidavit by Allison, JP's ex-wife, JP would even take his children's phone, this is what she alleges in her sworn affidavit, and text Micah begging her to come back, making her believe the kids need her. The text reads from JP allegedly pretending to be his daughter. Hey, when are you coming home? Dad just cries and prays really loud. I wish I could come home, frowny face. Dad says you can come anytime. I told him I'm asking you about lashes. He says different things to me. I miss you guys very much. I cry too. He said sorry, and it's your birthday. Yep, I'm 30. Just got my toes done at Daisy's. Life is gonna move on, but it'll be really weird for a bit. Frowny face. So you're not coming home ever? What can I tell Dad so that you can come home? I prayed with Dad for you to come home. Thank you for your prayers. Inside, I know he knows what's right, but we have to make choices that line up with that. And this part, she says,
These
you're
are
really
kids
smart
kinda
and
stuff.
kind and pretty, like your mom. I will miss you. So again, there have been allegations that like Micah and Allison have a tense relationship, and I'm sure at points they were tense, but it seems like Micah and Allison do have respect for each other. Like the fact that she's saying that is just, I think that shows you a lot about Micah. Mom says boys are dumb, but I know Dad loves you a lot. I've never seen him cry so much. If he asks you what we talked about, tell him lashes. I have to delete this. I understand. I'm praying too without Dad that you'll come home. He's crying so loud right now. Can you please talk to him? I promise he loves you. He has your pictures all over your house. He won't do anything with us. He just keeps crying. I'm sorry. Last
these are
time
the
I tried to
kids.
come home and be peaceful, he called the cops and said I was trying to break in after he was the one that asked me to come. My hands are tied. He won't even let me in. Can I ask him? He has done dumb things, but all he does is ask for you to come home and ask God to bring you home. He doesn't even get out of bed. He just cries. I really liked you with my dad. These were
This guy's
sent
a
from
manipulator.
JP's daughter's phone, but according to Allison in a sworn affidavit, they were all written by JP to guilt trip Micah into coming back home.
I wonder if Micah also have suspicions. Oh, is this him or is this actually the kids? But she maybe rather be nice.
Yes, just in case.
Just in case, right?
It does appear that JP always knew what to say and what to do to get Micah back. Something he would likely know how to do, considering he had been Micah's mentor since she was 15 years old. And that is why people heavily frown upon, even though they got married when she was of age, that's why people heavily frown upon relationships like this. Because the mental and emotional control that you have over someone when you start a dynamic like this is just immeasurable in most situations. There are even text messages from Micah's family to Allison, JP's ex-wife, where one of the members of Micah's family texts, Allie, I'm begging you as a mother to mother, please talk to me. I promise no one will know that we spoke. I'm concerned for the safety of my daughter. I'm asking you, begging you, not to let JP know I've reached out to you. He will just further isolate Micah from us. Please.
What are they asking of Alice?
Allison, they just want help. They don't know how to get Micah out.
Oh.
Micah's dad noticed a shift in his daughter after the two got married, but it seems like a situation again where I know people might be like, why didn't the family do anything? They're trying, but what can you do? Even if they forcibly remove her and force her to stay away, it would only push her closer to him. There are allegations that he purposely isolates her from her own family. Micah's dad said, as soon as they got married, her behavior went downhill fast. She seemed to be more sad, more under control. I believe he compressed her. He just sucked the life right out of her and caused her to go downhill. There were a few incidents prior to Micah's death where she decided she couldn't take it anymore. She leaves the house and comes to visit one of her siblings, and JP apparently does not like that. It's stated that during one of those occasions of Micah being at a sibling's house to get away from the alleged abuse, JP finds out and texts, not Micah, but her sibling. I'm on the way to your house. Be
I'll
there at
have to
12:55.
go soon,
We
but
will
hopefully
not let
catch
you
you again.
inside.
No
We
problem.
aren't
Thank you for
doing
stopping
none of that
by.
tonight.
Appreciate that. Have
That
yourself a
time
great
you can call
day.
the
I'll
cops.
catch you on the next
I'm
stream.
armed and ready.
Also, feel free to check out my
Armed?
other links in my
JP
bio.
said, "I'm
I'm on
armed and
Instagram and
ready."
Twitter and all that stuff.
They
Thank you.
respond, armed?
Have a good
Question
one.
mark,
Bye.
question mark. Micah can fix all of this. This doesn't help anything. Threats and intimidation only make matters worse. I don't care. If you come here, the cops will be here waiting. If you stay home, they don't need to get involved. You can't make a threat about being armed and ready and come to my home in the middle of the night. It's not safe for anyone involved. Fine by me. Haha, I don't care. That night in November 2023, so a few months before Micah passes, Micah's sister places a 911 call. 911, what's your emergency? I need to report a non-emergency at this point. Okay, what's going on? My sister came here today to visit because her and her husband were having issues. She came from Myrtle Beach. She told him that she's going to be home on Tuesday, and he is texting me at this point saying, I'll be at your house at 12:55. I'm armed and ready, and I will keep you up all night. I'm going to get her back. I said, you're not welcome at my home. There are no trespassing signs. You cannot threaten weapons. He has 6 guns that he just purchased recently, and he's saying I'm armed and ready, and I'm coming to get her. There are a lot of allegations of abuse against JP. Now, I do want to reiterate that none of these have been tried in the court of law. Therefore, they are just allegations. This is not a statement of fact, and the full list can be found on justiceformicah.com, run by Micah's family. But the list of allegations
I'll
include
try to
isolating
draw
her from her
something
family
for
and
you
friends.
on my
Allegedly,
channel.
JP would tell
Presses.
Micah that her family was not good for her and they were
No
using
problem.
her. The family
Draw
alleges JP would
one
not
of your
let
favorite
Micah
Pokemon.
sleep,
How about that?
which we have, if this is
Yeah,
true,
draw
we've
one of your
heard
favorite
of.
Pokemon. That'd
This
be cool.
seems very common in abusive relationships. He would keep her up at night allegedly and pull the covers off of her every time she started dozing off. They allege that she started having to sleep in her car at times just to get some peace and quiet. It's alleged that JP hired PIs to follow and track Micah and placed multiple GPS tracking devices on her car. They allege that JP would hack into her email, iCloud, Facebook account, and would sometimes message people pretending to be Micah and would text family members or church members admitting to bad things.
Awesome. All
like
right,
she's
random
having
fandom
intimate
enemy.
relations with teenagers in an attempt to disgrace her name. The allegations continue. JP would tell
Thank you very
Micah
much.
that she
Appreciate
was
that.
lazy and
I
mentally
hope so
ill, that
too.
her breasts were
And
too
your
small,
audience as
that
well.
her family was ignorant and used her, that she would not be a good Christian woman if she questioned him or did not submit to him or did not keep all of his dark secrets. It's alleged that JP forced her to submit to humiliating sexual acts that disgusted and hurt her. He would allegedly berate her for not being smart and, quote, falling for anything. There are allegations that if Micah told JP she was going to expose his abuse, he would berate her for not being a good Christian because only God can judge. He also allegedly told her, which is not true because judges are judges, but he also allegedly told her that a dutiful wife must obey her husband. If she does not, she is sinning. It's stated on the website that JP paid her less than minimum wage for more than her full-time employment at the church, removed her from all their bank accounts, but still made her make her own car payments, her own insurance payments, and pay for medical bills. He would also allegedly randomly fire her for disobeying him and would only allow her to have her job back if she agreed to some sexual acts or other list of demands. It said if Micah ever hinted at exposing his abuse, he would also threaten self-exit and even threatened her whole family with gun violence. There are allegations that JP would punch holes into the walls of their home. He kept guns and knives in the home, keeping Micah in a constant state of fear. One big allegation reads, while she was hospitalized, JP demanded that she have sex with him while she lay in the hospital bed. JP forced her to perform sexual acts against her will and demanded she watch him in sexual acts with others and forced her to sit still so others could touch her body against her will. JP told her and, quote, preached on Sunday that if she did not submit to his every request for sex in any manner he desired, then it was her fault if he got his needs fulfilled by another woman or man. The allegation list continues. JP slashed 5 of her car tires. JP would take her purse and keys to prevent her from leaving the house. One allegation reads, JP cheated on her many times. He sent nude pictures of himself to another woman. He paid a woman from church $10,000 to destroy a sexually explicit video of himself. He flirted with other women. He sexted and dated other women. He paid for sex from both women
Who are
and
these
men.
women who get with guys like this? Is it because he's in a position of power? They subject themselves to this kind of stuff? I'm not talking about the ones that victim, but the women who know that he's married. And they still, I don't know. That stuff is crazy. This is
These are
why
all the
you can't put all your trust in one person and let them have full control of your life. These people, like certain people like this, have full control of their life, and this is the end result. Like, I don't know. For me as a person, I can't just let someone dictate my whole life like that. I refuse. But to each their own. It's sad.
allegations. And the last allegation reads, physical abuse without marks. JP finger punched her in the throat. He held her up against the wall by her throat and slapped drinks out of her hands. And in public, he snatched a plate of food from her and threw it.
So these
What
are
a
all
pig.
allegations that the family posted,
Yes.
and they probably gathered this from different sources.
Yes. So allegedly, Micah had journals that she would keep that the family are allegedly in possession of. And I'm
Big
sure
stick cat.
Micah
I know, right?
would tell them.
It's
I don't know how
crazy.
deep she would tell them because I'm sure
She's a
she didn't want them to
disgusting
worry too
pig.
much. And that's typical
Worse than a pig, he's a
of
monster.
victims of abuse is you don't want to worry your family members. But I mean, it's coming from the family. I say allegations because, again, they haven't been tried in the court of law, but it's not like me trying to question a victim's story or anything. Now, the most terrifying one, leading up to her death, it stated that Micah would tell her sister, quote, if I end up with a bullet in my head, it's not by me, it was JP. And that would be the exact manner that she is found dead. Allison, JP's ex-wife, would even state, on one occasion, while picking up our daughter, I observed holes in their walls, hinges off the doors, and pieces of paper taped to the wall with negative affirmations about Micah. I'm imagining Post-its of just mean, degrading things about Micah randomly stuck around the house. He would also take the podium during a Sunday service and almost allude to all the problems Micah has under what feels like a thinly veiled disguise as being a sermon. JP had a thing for mentioning his wife's mental health struggles to people around him, whether it's true or not. He would openly talk about what he thought of her mental health. Then one day, he gets up there and he says, you know the thing about pride and mental illness?
I think mental illness is probably the most horrible thing we can face in our bodies, and pride is probably the most horrible thing we can face in our spirits, and here's why.
When you're mentally ill, it's the one sickness you have that you don't know you're sick. And you have to trust people around you because you're saying, no, they're lying to me. They're telling me I need medicine. I don't need medicine. Because the thing sick is your mind. And your mind is what you need to realize that you're sick, but you don't know you're sick because your mind tells you you're not sick. And your mind is the thing that's sick. Again,
That's messed up.
I don't know. I haven't looked into statistics, and I highly doubt that there would be valid statistics that I could quote. But I know a lot of people who struggle with their mental health, and I don't think any one of us refuses to take medication. I think most people who struggle with mental health want help. JP would also give these sermons based on the stories of his friends that he had this fellow pastor. He would talk about how his pastor was going through a divorce, that his wife just left one day. She was having an affair with one of his staff members. So in a day, the pastor lost his wife and his good friend, the staff member, all at once. Which it sounds like he's alluding to the idea that Micah is doing the same thing to him, when this is actually the exact thing that he did to his previous wife, Allison. Which, like, is this play about him right now? Because not only did he do this to Allison, but he's likely doing the same thing to Micah too. It's alleged that he was cheating on her with multiple different women. But one of his affairs, like I said, the one with Susie Skinner, seems like a pretty well-known accepted fact. And then Micah gets admitted into a mental health facility. She states that her husband had involuntarily committed her. It's further alleged that during this time, while she was admitted to the hospital, he took her wallet and keys and her car and went through all of her personal belongings to get rid of any and all things that allegedly would be incriminating towards him that she might have been using and collecting to bring to the court after being released from the hospital, Micah tries to file a police report that her husband stole her car, but a few things. JP alleges to the police that his wife has mental health issues, and usually during the holidays, she has these episodes where she will become manic, is what he says, and spend excessive amounts of money recklessly. He alleges that he took the car because he felt that she was going to sell it to fund these shopping trips, and he didn't want that to happen. Now, side note, he does make some crazy allegations. He states that Micah bought a gun and he was scared that Micah was going to shoot him. He had been begging all of her family and friends to help her, but according to JP, they refused. So he had no choice but to use his power of attorney to hospitalize her, is basically what he alleges. The police couldn't really do anything in this situation either. They told Micah that technically because they're married and haven't divorced yet, the car would be considered marital property, so he can't really steal property that he partly owns. Now, side note, a lot of Micah's family and friends will argue JP's claims, and they state that Micah did cut back on her meds. She was on medication, but because it was allowed in her medical regimen that she could reduce her 2 pills of lithium to 1. And the family demanded to see when Micah signed over power of attorney to JP. They allegedly kept pressing JP to show them the papers that she signed, but when he allegedly brought them to Micah's dad, they weren't signed or notarized. Which, if that's the case, that would mean that's not official documentation. But the family believes that JP would use these documents and somehow convince Micah that they were very real, and this is how he has power over her, complete and utter control over her.
What a piece of crap.
Later, JP would go up to do another sermon. This is around the time that she's in the mental hospital.
And when was that? Like years ago?
No.
2023?
Yes. 2023 or 2024.
When my wife went in the hospital, I looked at her phone and I counted over the past 2 years, 18 people who had texted her and said, if you ever want to talk about your husband, you can talk to me and say anything and I'll keep it confidential.
Why the heck does somebody want to hear what somebody else says about their spouse?
Wait, 18 people text her?
Yes, which
Then
I
that's
don't know
a
why
red flag.
he is proudly saying this, because that means 18 people feel like
Yeah.
You're
your
a piece of
husband
crap.
is alarming and I want to
Yeah.
help you.
This guy is so good at spinning everything around into his favor.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah,
Well, it's an
but
opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he does. Like everything you hear is like,
Yes.
he's just preaching about whatever he want to preach about.
Yeah. He literally frames it like this. You're not even ready. Why the heck does somebody want to hear what somebody else says about their spouse?
He doesn't think
No.
there's no problem with him. Everything is like, no, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem.
And he has a southern accent, and he does have that pastor cadence. This very
Yeah.
authoritative, and then where maybe even listening, you're like, okay. And then afterwards, you're like, what did he just say? Like, that doesn't even make sense. He says,
Why the heck does somebody want to hear what somebody else says about their spouse? And 2 of those 18 were men. If someone wants to call you and say bad things about somebody else, that's a demon talking to you. And the only way to respond is with the word of God. Because see, demons love words that line up with what they want. They cannot stand the word of God.
And he keeps bringing God too, all
Stop
the
bringing
time
God into
in
this.
his favor.
it's not a demon talking to you. It's 18 concerned people that see red flags in JP and are worried for Micah. He also states, last year, my wife, they went to Africa and had a wonderful trip, amazing trip. I believe it was like a mission. And she came back with the idea to start a school in Africa.
And 6 weeks ago, she goes in the hospital, gets out, and just leaves. Just completely leaves me, leaves everything, drains the bank account, and goes. And guess what? While you're talking bad about me out there, I'm building a school in Africa for over 100 kids to be able to be fed. I'm just doing that. I'm doing the work. Now listen, I'm hurting more than I've ever hurt, going through so much pain you can't imagine.
The congregation starts clapping. Listen, I'm hurting more than I've ever hurt before, though. So much pain you can't even imagine. Last week, I have somebody that's going to donate a plane to our church for me to be able to fly from Florida to Tennessee, North Carolina, and Georgia, for me to go and preach at other churches. Because listen, God gave me the idea that I don't care about other churches. I care about other pastors. And for some reason, I can develop a sermon on tithing, again, giving money to the church, on gossip, on strife, on supporting your pastor, and I can say things to the church that will bless the pastor. So now I'm getting invitations to speak at other churches all over the states around here, and we get a free plane I can go around in. So while you're talking about me on Facebook, look up in the sky and you'll see a solid rock logo on a plane. That's me going to Miami.
So he's talking this to the whole church
Yeah.
about Micah.
Yeah. And the whole congregation bursts into cheers.
Yeah, so imagine like what kind of power imbalance this is, and how would she feel to know that this is what he's publicly talking about her.
Yeah. This is, again, I do want to mention, this is not representative of Christianity. I myself have a bit of religious trauma, but this is like so unhinged. If you hear about a pastor talking about a private plane ever, I think it's time to switch churches. It's just, even if it was donated or whatever, it's very alarming. Micah posts a video on Facebook, and if you just see these videos of him up on that stage preaching, and then you see the videos of Micah, it's so different. The way they carry themselves, the words that they use, the type of message that they're trying to spread. Micah posts a video on Facebook.
So today my heart's a little heavy. I've had a lot of women that have reached out to me about situations of abuse. And I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me lately and reminded me, because I think I forgot. I knew, but I pushed it in the back of my head just because of my situation. But you are the bride of Christ. Before anybody else's bride, male or female, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender you are.
So you think you know Wix, but do you really?
There's crazy stuff going on here.
First up, we've got
Abuse is abuse. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain. Jesus took it all for you. So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs.
That is messed up.
Or alcohol abuse, or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're a bad husband, or you're not giving it your all when you know you are. God hates divorce, but why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that?
It seems like the way he uses, in my opinion, the way he uses the Bible is very
to defend his actions.
For himself, to confirm his actions and beliefs and choices. And the way Micah uses it, and I'm not religious, but she is trying to find wisdom and trying to find strength in the Bible, which is how it should be used.
Like, don't blame the religion, blame the people who take advantage of it and twist and turn the words of things.
April 9th, Micah posted a picture of herself on Facebook.
That's one thing I'm starting to learn, is that there's people out there who will take good things and twist it and turn it to their advantage. So, for example, we'll use, I don't know, something like the law. They'll use the law and twist and turn things or take advantage. There's always people like that who are trying to take advantage no matter what. You have to be careful out there.
Reads, when terrible, terrible, terrible things happen to you, y'all know what I'm talking about. RPF, resting peace face. Hashtag still blessed. Hashtag God is good. And that would be the last picture she ever posts. Micah files for divorce October 2023. The divorce is dismissed February 2024. Micah is filing again, but this time for legal separation. So it's very different from a divorce, but just like we're still legally married, we live separately. But it does seem like, or at least it appears from the outside, that Micah just wants to be free. She wants to move on with her life. She even reaches out to Allison, JP's ex-wife, and leaves her a 47-second voicemail where she says,
"Hey, it's Micah. This is my new number. Please don't give it to anybody, but I just wanted to see who your counselor was to help you, walk through forgiveness and stuff, and keep your heart right through all the mess, because I don't want to...
things are bad.
I don't want to lose myself.
Sorry to interrupt. Things are bad when the ex-wife and his current wife stay in contact and actually have a decent relationship. That's when things are bad. That the ex-wife is concerned about the current wife.
I don't want to pursue anything out of anger or vengeance or anything like that. I just want to be free and have peace, keep my soul right So, if you just text me in the evening that I'm a good counselor, I greatly appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.
Micah's separation papers were served to JP April 25th, 2024. April 27th, 2024, she would be found dead in the water. Micah's family have alleged that when they found out about Micah's death, it was from a text message from JP. The text allegedly reads, "This is what happens when you try to encourage someone to divorce the person they love and tell them that they don't need medicine and that they're not ill when they are. Good job, Francis family." The family alleged that he starts texting about 100 people that night that she passed, and people start blowing up Micah's family's phones, and that's how they knew. Side note, even the way he announces to the congregation that Micah has passed is very bizarre and has gone viral. He doesn't seem to give time to Micah's family to let people know. I mean, just the day after Micah is found, he goes up there and allegedly gives a full sermon, and at the end he says,
We're not going to do an altar call today. Instead, I'm going to have you stand up, and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can, so y'all can stand to your feet. Before I make the announcement, I also want to say that my request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give for the next little bit, because I don't want to have. I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break may be a few days, a few weeks, I don't know. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. And it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina. And we're going to have a funeral for her next Sunday here at 3 p.m. And so it's all I can, I'm just kind of going on adrenaline right now. So y'all pray for me and my kids and everybody. And y'all knew that she wasn't well mentally, and that she needed her medicine that was hard to get to her.
it was such an emotionless, bizarre announcement. Sunday, May 12th, 2024, JP holds a memorial for Micah at the Solid Rock Church. Her family does not attend. He says during the memorial service, while showing a slideshow of Micah, it's just weird. Netizens feel like he's complimenting his wife, but almost not. He would say things like, she'd get a tourist to take our picture, and I say, okay, thank you. And she said, oh, no, this isn't good. Give it back to them. And they do it again, you know. But she's so creative. Everything she did was creative. What's the next picture? Next picture. She'd stop. We'd be on the way to like a show or something, and she'd stop. Oh, I gotta get a picture. I said, we're gonna be late. And she said, I don't care. This paraphrasing, but again, just kind of weird, right? He would also talk about how she loved tattoos, but he didn't. She wanted to skydive and do all these dangerous things, but he had to think about his kids. He also compliments her in ways that I just don't feel like are nice during a time to celebrate somebody's life. He would compliment her on how beautiful she was to look at, how she took care of him, dressed up as Wonder Woman for him because he loves comic books, took care of the kids, things of that nature.
There's already so much evidence
He
against him.
continues,
It's terrible.
I can't
It
even,
is.
if I had 10 hours today, that wouldn't be enough time to tell you all the great things about her and what it was like to be in an intimate relationship with her. You know, I can still hear her voice, and I can still picture her just walking in the front door, and she was a great stepmom. She did so much work with the kids all the time. She was the one that would always pick them up from school and get their food, and she takes my daughter all the time to get their nails done or go to Lululemon. You know, all the special girly things, you know, and I appreciated that from the very, very beginning. Not once she ever complained about me having 5 kids, and, oh, this is my favorite video of her. And he plays a clip of her singing, and he starts doing this odd combination where he's laughing and crying, where he's like, like, it's really, I don't know how to describe it. I can only play it for you. It's just weird.
For real. And he's cheating.
Imagine
crazy.
being married to that.
This is odd behavior.
Like that in our house all the time. Y'all eating. Pastor Randall's going to close in prayer.
Side note, he does mention trying to resurrect her from the dead while visiting her body. He also states, it really hadn't hit me, you know. As Christians, of course, we know she's not here and she's in heaven and she's, you know, worshiping and enjoying and probably hadn't even had time to look down here yet. But
I got this lay next to her body and spent time with her body about 4 times this week, and each time it still didn't hit me.
You know what? Those make me angry.
You know, I even
his fake, kind of fake cry. Like, people are very perceptive to that when someone is trying to fake an emotion. And to me, that is so fake and odd. Like, I don't know him. Maybe that's how he always sounds, but there's certain things you can pick up when someone's trying to force an emotion. And that's it right there.
Tried to
Listen.
raise her from the dead one time this week. And
actually, that morning, I went to the mall later and she bought me this dog tag and the chain had broke. So I went to the mall to get it fixed and I saw a female about 20, 30 feet in front of me. And she was wearing one of Micah's dresses and she had the same tattoo Micah has on her arm and the exact same hair. And it was just out of instinct. I screamed, Micah!
I screamed, Micah! And the girl turned around and it was one of her sisters. And I thought I raised her from the dead. She's alive, you know. But I can't wait to see her again one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he look sad?
No.
No.
In my opinion, no. He looks like he loves performing on stage.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. If you told me, Stephanie, imagine a pastor who goes up on stage to hold the memorial for his wife, even if it's a celebration of life, this is just not what I would expect at all.
How many people was in that church? Like, how many people was in the seat?
Yes, prior to all of this happening, it was said that he had 2 sermons on Sundays and a total of around 700 people would come.
Jeez.
Yes,
has
his
influence.
church does well. The church's assets are estimated to be close to $6 million. I believe
wow.
they hold real estate. They have that plane that's almost $500,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So
and
this is a man who
it's
has an
alleged that he
influential
controls
church.
most of the church funds, if not all. Like, it's his church.
So he's powerful.
Yes. And he's well known in the area. Now, it gets weirder. Apparently, JP wrote Micah's
Sorry, I got a little distracted by this.
obituary, and it was a weird read. It's been condensed, but it reads, she and JP have been friends since 2009, married in 2017, and spent almost every single day and night together. She truly served Jesus and her husband with all her heart. She would praise her husband after every church service, telling him he was the best preacher in the world, even if it wasn't true. She also told him he was the funniest preacher in the world, even though that wasn't true either. Micah loved her family so much, which is kind of an odd obituary portion to begin with, in my opinion. But it also fails to mention that Micah filed for legal separation. And
There's always a reason.
Yeah, there's... Sorry, let's skip this here.
papers 48 hours prior to her death. It's just weird.
Yeah, he mentions all this stuff,
He would
but
also
not
later say in
other
an
stuff.
interview with ABC 15
There's always
that
a
she was
paper
probably
trail.
the greatest wife anyone could ask for. She was incredibly affirming. We spent every night together for hours just talking and talking. But
I feel
Micah's
like
family...
when people do bad things and they say all these things, it's so they're trying to convince you that they're a good person, and they know they're not a good person. It's like, are they trying to convince us or yourself? Because I'm pretty sure people know that that's not always the case. There's some shady stuff going on. As a religious person, I am so disgusted by a pastor or priests who are like this. Yeah, exactly. There's people who always take advantage and twist and turn things. There's evil people in all places, man. You have to be careful. If something doesn't feel right, trust your intuition.
hearing this, they don't believe a single word of what he's saying. They remember before
Agreed,
she
100%.
died, she told them, if I end up with a bullet in my head, it's not me, it's JP. When JP was 19 years old, he did something very sinful. He was indicted on charges of assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature. According to the Myrtle Beach Sun News, JP hit a 19-year-old girl twice with his car while driving high speed. It sounds pretty intentional too. Apparently, he was driving through a neighborhood where a lot of residents were out sandbagging their homes. That means putting out bags of sand so their lawns don't get flooded during hurricane season. Allegedly, there was a ton of road closed signs on the street, but 19-year-old JP is said to have put black tape on his license plate and started driving his truck down the road. This is when a 19-year-old girl that's helping her family sandbag their house tells him, slow down. And he hits her and continues to drive for about 300 feet. He finally slows down to the point where she's able to safely roll off. And then he just flees the scene.
What?
Okay.
The 19-year-old girl stated she suffered from severe, painful, and permanent injuries. JP was arrested. His bond was set at $5,000, but he was released the same day. Eventually, he received a suspended sentence of 4 years, 3 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and an order to pay court fees. In 2022, he received a pardon for his conviction. Now, Allison, JP's first wife, would state his affair with Micah was not the most alarming thing during their relationship. The cheating wasn't even the biggest issue. The big issue was JP confessed to Allison and even some of the other church members that he was, 1, addicted to hiring sex workers, and 2, he allegedly admitted to being sexually inappropriate with several underage girls from their church. He would later tell some of the church members that this is all because he himself was abused sexually by his own dad. The church decides to forgive him for illegal acts that he committed against other people, which...
Exactly. This exactly what he said. This man is twisting the words of the Bible, ignoring everything that is against what he does. I'm so sad. Yeah, for Micah. Yeah, exactly. He uses... This is what people like this do, especially these cult leaders. They use the word of God to enhance or boost what they want to do, but they don't apply it to themselves. Which is crazy. You know, sick people like that give people who are religious a bad name or practice that. And I always tell myself, you gotta remember, not all people like that or have that same view. There's always gonna be a rotten few that sadly take the spotlight, put a bad light on people, whether it's a religion or politics or whatever, all stuff. But you know, crazy. People will twist things to their advantage. You shouldn't be bringing this. Yeah.
I don't know how you have that kind of jurisdiction, but they said, we will forgive you as long as you undergo an extensive sexual addiction program. He thought it was silly, and he did not follow through with it. And apparently this, with the divorce of him divorcing Allison for Micah, caused a massive scandal in the church. The church members start splitting off, leaving to new churches, branching off in their own congregation. And he allegedly told the remaining church elders that there's nothing they can do to him. This is his church, and he's got 100% authority. Allison said, after JP informed me that he had been inappropriate with minor female members of our church and disclosed to me the identity of these girls, I immediately contacted them to encourage them to come forward. Although they each shared with me detailed accounts of what JP did to them, they were too scared to make a police report or testify in court. When I learned they were too fearful to report JP, I went to the police department for the purpose of making a statement and requesting an investigation. However, I was in essence told by police officers that nobody would believe me because JP was a well-known pastor and we were in the middle of a divorce.
I hate when they say stuff like that.
Without the testimony of the victims, there was little else I could do to prove that JP had done this.
But I understand why. It's still messed up, but I understand why. If someone's a very influential figure or very powerful, most of law enforcement are not going to act unless you have concrete video evidence or something of stuff going on. They can't just go off by he said or she said. They want concrete video or video evidence of what's going on, because they know that even if they did pursue it as much as they want to, if they can't provide the evidence, to be their word against them. And if someone's very influential, people are not going to want to believe it. And you know, you can see he's a great manipulator, so he's going to twist and spin whatever the cops say or whatever his victims say. That's why a lot of people don't come forward, which is kind of messed up. Is honestly, is your word against another person's word? It's so messed up. So, yeah, it's sad.
And ensure that he was held accountable. It seemed that at that moment, Allison felt like, again, there was nothing she could do. And she still has to co-parent with this guy. Allison has asked the court to give her immediate full custody over their children after Micah's death. She states in that document, so this is very recent, that JP has exhibited increasingly unstable behaviors, failed to provide a safe and stable environment for the kids, and has exposed the children in incidents of domestic dispute, which have been traumatic for the kids and just overall not in their best interest. She states that JP's mental health has increasingly deteriorated. And it's very interesting because JP keeps yapping on about Micah's mental health, but a lot of those close to him have major concerns for his.
Yeah.
I don't see many people coming out with major concerns that they had for Micah's mental health. Obviously, she was going through a lot with the whole separation from JP, but nothing indicated, at least that the public knows about as of right now.
Exactly.
Any sort of ideations,
That's very odd,
dark
right?
thoughts, any sort of major depression. Not even episodes of manicness that he keeps describing. Like, nobody has come out to say, oh yeah, she definitely had those. I remember those. Which, side note, the ex-wife isn't the only one that's concerned about his mental health. JP even stated in a sermon that he was having a horrible time, that he himself is on 900 milligrams of lithium and he's seeing a counselor every week and he can't even get out of bed. He said, quote, I have unforgiveness, hatred, and demons coming out of me. Horrible. I'm in such a bad place.
Oh my
He said this
God.
before Micah died. Allison states sometimes he wouldn't even visit the kids because he would tell her he's not mentally well enough to take care of the kids right now. She said his behavior patterns were becoming increasingly erratic, irrational. The filing is 11 pages long, and Allison's main points are he uses having joint custody over the kids as a way to control and threaten Allison. Based on information she's received, she believes JP makes a lot more than he says he makes, and she would like to modify the child support agreement in place. She states the kids don't feel comfortable under his care. She said JP would preach sermons on the Sundays. Our children were with him and present in the congregation, disparaging Micah and indicating she has mental health issues and eventually putting her in a mental hospital. The children were subjected to JP calling Micah crazy one day and then her being back in their home at the next visit with their father assuring them that she was fine. Allison also states that JP's mental health started deteriorating or, quote, spiraling out of control after Susie's husband drowned in the pool. She said, he informed me he was getting into buying guns and shooting. He had purchased a gun safe for his home, and as a convicted felon, he is not allowed to have weapons. However, he managed to get a police chief from the church to assist with expunging his record.
You could do that? Like,
That's
what?
crazy.
Apparently, the police chief also gave him a special police badge that instead of police, I guess it says pastor. So if he ever gets pulled over, he would likely flash it to the cop, and most likely they'll let him go.
So this is all ex-wife. Ex-wife is saying the police is involved in this.
Yes.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Like for her to go against the police department.
Yeah.
Like that says a lot.
Well, I don't know if she's going against them.
Not going against, but she's exposing this information, right?
Yes, but it's not, I don't think it's not necessarily a crime to help expunge someone's record. You can apply to get it expunged at any point. But to have a police chief involved in the process is definitely going to make it easier, in my opinion, right? And so for her to state that in the affidavit is, I think, interesting, though. Yes. Now, side note, JP wasn't allowed to have his underage daughter over at night. He was only allowed to have daytime visits with his underage daughter, which JP kept telling Allison that he prayed she would change her heart about that choice. One text message admitted into the affidavit by Allison reads, "You can't have normal privileges because you have committed terrible crimes of sexually molesting underage children. Praying for my heart to change is absolute gaslighting." Ultimately, Allison states in the filing that if they continue to share joint custody over the children, she believes it will be detrimental to the safety of both her and the children, and she believes Micah. She says, Micah began calling me for advice on how to free herself from JP and for guidance to counsel.
They know they're doing wrong, but what's the word I'm looking for? These people, they know they're doing wrong, and some of these people choose these professions because they know they have a lot of influence. They don't care about the Bible and stuff because some of those are just actors. They know that if they have a church or something, they can make a lot of money, and they don't care. Trust me, these people do not care about the religious aspect of it. They just care about the prestige of the title and having money and tax-free money and all that stuff. Trust me, they know they're doing wrong. For them, they're not doing it. It's like they practice the things that people want to hear and say in the church because they know it'll get them followers. Like, it's crazy. It's pandering, but for their benefit.
Counselors and people to assist her. I prayed with Micah and did all that I could to provide her with sound advice.
They don't believe what they're saying. They just do it because they know they'll get money.
And guidance. Micah shared information with me about the things that my children were exposed to while in the care of JP and warned me that my children were in danger while in his care. I have tremendous concern about the safety and welfare of our children while in the care of JP, especially now that Micah is no longer present. I was married to JP for 16 years. Although my story and what I lived through with JP is different in some ways, many of the details shared with me by Micah are so similar to my own experiences with JP, I know she was being truthful. Another part of the affidavit from Allison states that she doesn't want her children to be around JP's father in any...
You know it's bad when the ex-wife who was cheated on is standing up for his new wife who cheated on her or who he cheated on with is defending that woman. You know it's bad. That is crazy. You're thinking like I'm just saying, like she has a better heart than me, but like if I was cheating on her or something and I found that the person who broke up my marriage, whatever, had a bad ill fate, you wouldn't care much about what happened to them. But she's fighting for her, so you know things are bad. That guy is a piece of He's a piece of work.
Any capacity, which is very interesting to state. This is their grandfather.
Oh yeah,
but
he's definitely
JP's father
unstable.
has been slightly vocal about this case. He sent a 900-word document to the Daily Mail alleging that Micah's mental health problems were severe, but it's all being covered up to protect her memory. He alleges that her family is in denial of such mental health issues and that she is, quote, a very, very, very sick woman. Which I feel like you can't really throw stones without
classic,
checking the foundation of your house first.
She's saying
Reg-
unsavory things. She must be hysterical. Classic tactic. Oh, she's saying unpleasant things. She must be lying. I don't know. These people are crazy.
Reginald Miller, JP's father, was once charged with labor fraud, visa fraud, and failure to pay minimum wage. He was accused of turning his Bible college into a forced work camp. He served 15 months in prison after his arrest. Additionally, his very questionable past allegations where he has been accused of making sexual advances towards men whose wives were in Bible study. When he was asked later about the claims against him, he just said, allegations are allegations. Okay, same goes here. Allegations are allegations. We can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, there are allegations or theories that JP was stealing donations intended for the church and its charitable activities, and he was taking them for personal use, allegedly, but I don't know. There are also other allegations that he just ran his church very peculiarly. He has a very, he really likes tithing. I heard it come up a lot in his sermons.
Sorry, I'm getting
Meaning giving
distracted.
a
I should be
percentage of your
drawing,
income
but I'm really focused on this case right now. I'm going to keep going.
to the church. Some former members allege that if you tried to leave the church or if you disagreed with him, he would harass you, spread rumors about you, and make you a social pariah amongst all the other local churches in the area. This is what's alleged. Again, I've never been part of his church, so I can't tell you definitively. Soon after Micah's death,
How can a murderer who doesn't regret his sins commit adultery, pedophile, and take advantage of the church? That's his passing. I think in this situation, I think maybe, like you hear things, like for example, the Diddy case, we hear things, right? But no one has the concrete evidence to bring it forward to light until, the saying the shit hits the fan. I think there's probably whispers, but maybe that people are overlooking because you know what? This guy's our pastor, he's doing so much things, blah, blah. They probably overlook it or turn a blind eye. I don't know. I really can't say. There's a lot of things people in high positions have been doing. And then when it comes to light, they've been doing things, people are like, oh, so it was true. Yeah. But I think they said that he worked to get some stuff expunged, so they wouldn't have that. And let's be honest, how many people are really looking up people's history, see if they have criminal doing background checks? You'd be surprised. A lot of people slip through the cracks. Like every person you have met, unless they give you really odd vibes, you probably don't think twice to look up their background and see if they did anything criminal or anything. I think more people don't start, friendships or engage with people that would oh, this person, I'm talking to them, let me look at their background, see if they're evil or not. I don't know. I'm no expert, but yeah, it's crazy.
a series of Facebook posts start circulating. All people.
I remember there was actually a viral story of this lady. She had a document series called "Who the F Did I Marry?" And when she married the guy, seemed like he was a perfectly normal and an upright guy. Then, the longer she got married, she started realizing that things were not adding up. And she did background checks, found that her alleged husband has a fake name. He has all these crimes for stealing and robbery and stuff like that, and everything he's saying was fake. So, as an example, you don't know the person until I guess you get to know the person. Yeah, it's messed up.
AP start sharing their stories. These Facebook posts are other individuals and their thoughts and feelings and versions of events. So we could not verify them, obviously.
But they're real people, right?
Yes. One friend that spoke to Micah the night that she passed, or the night before she passed, said on Facebook, I will not sit here and pretend that I know exactly what happened, but I know a lot, and I'm well aware in the past that Micah has had mental health issues, and I witnessed her struggle firsthand. The Micah I witnessed last month, I was seeing a grown woman trying to break the chains of an abusive marriage. When I talked to Micah last, she was making plans, moving forward, and trusting God. Her faith was her shield. She had reconnected with people that she had been isolated from, myself included. She was sorting out her new normal. She was making plans to get a haircut. She was a woman making plans to live. I was so overwhelmed seeing people on the news last night trying to minimize Micah by painting her as mentally ill. Another person close to the couple posts on Facebook a statement that reads,
crazy.
"What I'm about to say is my deep-hearted opinion. However, some stuff will be things that I've personally experienced. I've said it from the beginning, JP doesn't have the guts to kill anyone. If you truly know him, then you know that his biggest game is stalking, manipulating, and brainwashing. He is the one who will hand you the gun and dare you to do it, or the one to place it on the counter when he knows that they are at their lowest. Just listing examples here, I'm not saying he did or didn't have something to do with it at some level, or that he pushed this sweet soul to the point that she felt like she had no other option. It's heartbreaking. It's nauseating. I can promise you this, JP is smiling. He is thinking that he is not at fault. He is thinking that this will blow over and that he will build his new church and he will have another brainwashed congregation to follow him. He is a narcissist at its finest. Don't stop speaking out. He will make someone's life a living hell until they feel that they can't escape it. I've personally witnessed many situations in over 30 years that I've known him. I've stood up to him in his lies and we've had multiple disagreements. I've always said that JP was scared of me because he doesn't know how to handle a woman or a man who calls him out on his who doesn't fall for his manipulating techniques.
Yep.
He's a weak man with
People like
a
that don't
brilliant
like when
ability to manipulate
you're not
and
easy to
brainwash.
work with
A
or be
woman
manipulated.
claiming to be JP's ex posted on Facebook. Again, this is a claim, an allegation. But she posted, "I am an ex of John Paul Miller. I was 14 years old when he was 19 years old. I was a child at the time, but I didn't see an issue. But at 19, obviously, he should have. We dated for a year, and I found out that he was dating his first wife, Allison, while we were together. All unbeknownst to her. She later found out and lied about it as he continued to do about the multitude of infidelities the remainder of their marriage. This has been hard to watch and keep quiet about, but I feel like it's time to be transparent." She states in her post that JP reached out to her after Allison left him when she found out that he was cheating with Micah. And she said, he was not remorseful of his actions. He was upset over the amount of people that left the church and that hurt him financially. Soon after, another woman comes forward, a woman with text message conversations with JP. She's actually not a member of the church or a friend of theirs. She works for a restaurant that JP visited February 23rd, about 2 months prior to Micah's death. He left almost a 50% tip and wrote his number underneath the little signature portion with a big smiley face. And the text message reads, allegedly from JP, "I think I need a bikini pic of you." She has no idea he's married.
What?
She just responds, "LOL, I don't know if I really have any." "Come on." "Okay, no bikini then." Winky face, meaning just naked then. She responds, "LOL, I think most of the time when I'm in a swimsuit, I'm also in a mermaid tail." It seems like maybe she had a side gig of being like a mermaid. I'm not sure. "Are any of my pics going through?" JP asks. "Nope." Do you have one with just the mermaid tail?" Smiley face. "Haha, I don't think I do actually. Give me something. I'm still trying to send pics." She finally sends a picture. She writes, "Okay, this one isn't bad, but that's all you're getting right now." Shy face. "Wow, you're super hot. I love it. Thank you so much." She asks him, "What do you do?" And he says, "Well, ... Well, ... LOL. "I'm a senior pastor of Solid Rock at Market Common, and I'm headmaster and founder of Faith First Academy. I'm going through a divorce due to my soon-to-be ex-wife. She is bipolar and schizophrenic and left town after she got out of the mental hospital for the 7th time." Frowny face. "I'm also owner of the Crocodile Rocks, which is like a piano bar at Broadway at the beach." Yeah, she stopped talking to him after that.
Yeah.
April 30th,
I hope so.
2024, 3 days after Micah's death, another police report is filed. JP calls the police to state that the leasing agent would not let him into his deceased wife's apartment to collect her things. Now, why would he want to go there? Micah's family believed that JP was there so that he could get her diaries and journals and potentially any other documents that could incriminate him. According to an affidavit later filed by Micah's family, they state Micah was gathering and sorting evidence that she had to bring to an attorney for filing divorce pertaining to his abuse, character, and his affairs and associates that he paid off or blackmailed.
Mm-hmm.
Those documents, emails, files, etc. were
sneaky.
removed from her phone, personal laptop, vehicle, and purse.
Yeah, you
and
should
never
stop talking to him.
recovered. Ultimately, the police have ruled Micah's death a self-exit. For a few reasons. The medical examiner does not believe there was any evidence of anything indicating foul play on her body. There is no reason for the authorities to believe that she was
If
not
it was a
alone
self-exit,
at the state park
you manipulated and
when
pushed
she
her,
died. And
which is
the one
still
person
as
who
bad.
many believe has a motive, JP, has an alibi. He was seen in a sporting event about 3 hours away. Investigators said that they located multiple eyewitnesses who confirmed the pastor was at the event all weekend. His truck was seen en route from Charleston and back. But likely one of the most heavily weighed aspects is the 911 call. There was a call placed from the park.
Robeson County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
Hi, are you able to trace the location of my phone?
You don't know where you're at?
A national park.
I have my location on. I think my phone, Find My iPhone is on. Lumber River State Park? Yeah, that's where I am. I'm about to kill myself and I just want my family to know where to find me. Okay, ma'am, just listen to what I'm saying, okay? Let me make sure I get the exact location where you are. Just 1 minute. That 911 call was placed before she passed. But still, a lot of people, including many netizens, feel like there's just so much more to the story. On solidrockmb.com, which I'm assuming is the church website, there's a little
That is
About
actually
Me section
crazy.
where JP
It
writes
is.
a bit about him as the pastor.
I think he pushed her
writes,
to that.
We, your pastors, are very transparent. We are the exact same on the platform of Solid Rock as we are at home behind closed doors. What you see is what you get. We refuse to wear masks and play games. Rather, we keep everything out in the open. The whole truth is on display. JP has filed to seal all probate court documents involving his late wife, Micah. Which again, requesting to seal those records is not an admission of guilt. But Micah's family, the Francis family, have filed a petition to become the administrators of Micah's estate. There were concerns that JP was trying to manipulate his assets during the separation with Micah. Allegedly, Micah said that he was moving around assets so that in the event of a divorce, Micah would have nothing or a lot less of what she was entitled to. For example, their house that they lived in would likely be considered marital property. Well, he ends up selling the property to the church, which Micah does not have control over the church's finances. And technically, it's not his finances because the churches are nonprofits. But
What
JP
kind of selling your house
Yeah.
to the church? What?
Yeah. JP is also said to have full control over their bank accounts. I don't know if that's true, right? But the family wrote in the complaint, Defendant Miller's supposed sale of the marital home to the church is believed to have been an attempt to defraud and deprive his wife from her fair share of the marital
I
estate.
don't like this toe.
It's
hard
also
drawing
alleged
this
that
toe.
other investments were transferred to his son's name around this time. Which, side note, Micah's family also requested to posthumously change her name, drop her maiden name, or drop Miller, or go back to her maiden name, I mean. And JP has pushed back on this in court, which is so odd to me because they were already in the process of separating. She was filing for a legal separation. Why would he need her to still be Micah Miller? It's such an odd thing to fight about. A lot of netizens think it's just ego. He just seems to be a very odd character, I think is the nicest way to say it. Now, side note, according to Allison, JP's ex-wife, JP told the kids his plan was to, quote, sue everyone and become a millionaire.
Everyone as?
Social media people who talk about the case, allegedly.
Yeah, so I guess
there
that's
are
me.
rumors online that he is hiring a PI or somebody like a PI to likely run background checks on people who talk about him on social media, I guess in ways that he does not like. So that's interesting. That's just a rumor as of right now, but very interesting. JP and his attorney have denied any and all involvement in Micah's death, as well as the abuse allegations. The attorney made a statement, the gist being, following
these
the
toes.
untimely death of Micah Miller, unfounded rumors and false accusations began circulating on social media and in various media news outlets, suggesting Pastor Miller's involvement in her demise. This created a buzz, causing local and national media outlets to begin proliferating these falsehoods on a mammoth proportion. Our client refutes any report that suggests he ever abused his wife. It has come to light that Micah Miller struggled with mental illness. specifically bipolar disorder, which when not properly managed led to paranoid episodes and self-destructive behavior. Again, Micah suffered from mental illness, and some reports made by her in
He didn't actually pull the trigger, but he definitely, what's the word I'm looking for? Pushed her to. Well, that kind of, I don't know. That's crazy. He's definitely pushed her.
There's no place like home. Because home is where we're totally comfortable. It's where we can be ourselves.
Right.
And let our guards down.
I spent too much time
It's where
trying
we
to draw
make memories.
these feet.
dance in the recent past are nonsensical. The statement also has a lengthy portion, basically saying that there are a ton of people on social media defaming JP, and they will take legal action against those people, etc., etc. But what theories are they talking about? What accusations? Welcome to the theory portion of the video, where just like the rest of the video, I want to emphasize this is not a statement of fact. These are collections of sentiments, opinions, allegations, and questions that have been posted publicly online, and I've just compiled them for you to absorb the content quickly. Nobody at all, at least as of right now, as of filming, is even considered a suspect in this case, meaning nobody is guilty of anything. So keep that in mind, and always consider that the internet likes to do what the internet likes to do, which is theorize and speculate. Which brings us to our very first theory. The theory that Micah self-exited, which is it's a theory shared both by law enforcement as well as some netizens at this time. This is her official manner of death according to the ME and the police. Them plus a handful of netizens who have given JP the benefit of the doubt, as well as JP himself, have settled with this theory. It's argued the fisherman at the park that day heard only one gunshot go off. The pawn shop where Micah bought the gun had CCTV footage of the entire transaction. She was alone and did not seem to be forced to be there. The police found the receipt for the gun for the sale in her car. On paper, Micah allegedly had a history of mental illness.
And photograph
according
evidence
to
of him
some
not
members of
being in
Solid
that
Rock
area
Church,
at the time.
They state they believe Micah had previous failed attempts at self-exiting. The only
So it's
person
believed
that
that she
might
did
have a
kill
motive to do
herself.
something like this is usually, in most cases, the
But
husband.
we want to know
But multiple
why she killed
eyewitnesses have
herself.
come forward
Was it
and have
because he
corroborated JP's
pushed her
alibi
to,
that Saturday
or
at a sporting event. JP's truck was caught and time-stamped by traffic cameras 2 hours and a whole state away at the time of Micah's death.
be there?
In Micah's
Yeah.
phone, there were directions and multiple recent searches to the pawn shop where she bought the gun and to the park where her body was found. She bought the gun the same day. The one piece of the puzzle, well, I guess it's not really a puzzle to them, is basically a shut and done case for people who believe this theory. The one detail they always cite is the 911 call. Micah called 911 and said she was going to self-exit that day at 2:54 p.m. Police were dispatched to her location at 3:03 p.m. If Micah did not self-exit and there is foul play involved, wouldn't her alleged killers need more than 9 minutes to flee the scene? Wouldn't it be in their best interest that the police don't arrive at the scene until they're long gone? Not to mention, the netizens who support this theory claim Micah sounded very calm in the 911 call, that it would be virtually impossible to force someone to make a 911 call like that against their will. However, there are a lot of netizens that dispute the theory's main points, disputing through arguments and anecdotal evidence or speculations. Again, nothing has been shut and done in the court of law, but netizens have argued back against this theory by alleging if the fisherman heard only one shot, that would be one thing. But the Francis family and a park ranger have reported that they've found multiple shell casings at the scene. Could it just be another case of faulty eyewitnesses, faulty memories, or even planted memories? Micah's family stated that there were multiple bullets found at the scene, and later it's going to be confirmed that there were 2 spent shell casings found near her and a live bullet, meaning 2 spent. They've gone through fire twice. Which is not very common from what I can tell anecdotally of self-exit cases. Netizens agree that it looks like Micah goes inside and buys the gun at the pawn shop from the CCTV footage that is released. But a lot of people are questioning the CCTV footage. In certain frames of the CCTV footage, Micah has this hand tattoo of a cross, pretty big cross on her hand. It's missing in the CCTV footage.
What?
So is her necklace that she was seen wearing the day of her death. People think it's weird.
Wait, have you seen the footage?
Yes. I don't see the tattoo.
Is it very blurry footage or?
To me, it doesn't seem, because even if it's blurry, would you not still have a blurred outline?
So they're saying this footage is questionable.
Yeah, there's no tattoo. It appears there's no tattoo. Remember Micah's 911 call where she says she wants her family to know where to find her? She made the call and then walked from her car and the parking lot where her black Honda was found into the trails of the forest and off the beaten path, which some netizens feel defeats the purpose of making that call to begin with. And sure, Micah had a history of mental illness, but that is according to JP. Her schizophrenia, mania, playing chess with people who aren't there, that's what JP alleges, right? That's all what he alleges. In an interview with Anna Francis, Micah's sister, Anna claims that JP was actually the one who had been on schizophrenia medication for the past 20 years. She also states that at the end of Micah's involuntarily, held at the hospital, that the doctor, quote, at the end of that weekend where Micah was examined, and I'm pretty sure Faith Green apologized for it and said that she should have never been there. Everyone cleared her. She's completely sane, end quote. That's what the sister said. Netizens who don't believe Micah self-exited also cite that, sure, perhaps the chances of someone with past attempts of self-exit dying from self-exit are
It
higher,
is sad.
but that doesn't mean the chances of them being murdered are lower.
Yeah, that's the worst
Especially
thing.
in cases of speculated
I'm going to say
DV.
something about that.
If anything, that increases her chances of being murdered. And those netizens who aren't fully convinced that JP had nothing to do with it, that Micah did not self-exit, they bring up the netizen theory.
I think that's one of the worst ways to find about a family or loved one dying is through the internet. Like, I know there was a case, I can't remember what it was. Someone got passed away, I forget how, but the family only knew who it was. Oh, it was a girl, it was two girls. They were fighting, and one other girl took a broken bottle and stabbed the other girl, and she bled out. And people were recording the stabbing. It wasn't like a live feed or anything. It was like a recorded video. And they posted it to Twitter at the time. And the family only found out about the person dying, their family member dying, because they saw the viral, they were for the viral video of their loved one dying. So imagine finding out that your loved one was brutally killed from an altercation, and you find the video on Twitter because someone sent it to you. How traumatizing is that? You didn't know they were dead. So I remember that. That's just horrible. I don't know. People get so desensitized. Like, why would you post a video like that on Twitter? Someone getting stabbed to death. Anyways, crazy stuff.
2 and 3, which is that JP killed Micah, or that JP was the sole driving force pushing her towards her death. Again, another quick, super brief legal disclaimer. At the date of this recording, there have been 0 official suspects nor persons of interest named by the authorities. Micah's death at the date of this recording has still officially been ruled a self-exit by the police and the medical examiner. The following details, little facts that have been pointed out, or inconsistencies are all netizen speculation, and the source notes will be in the description. And all of this is public information available online. And again, just to cover all the bases, the police do not believe JP Miller was involved with the death of his wife. Alleged theory number 2. Pastor JP allegedly killed his wife, and using his authority within the church, he spun his own little narrative to cover up any traces of foul play. Netizens believe that JP has a motive to want to be single or to be free, and that motive, they allege, is Susie Skinner. Remember his alleged girlfriend and affair? Susie Skinner's husband died in the pool. Susie and JP were spotted at a sushi bar just 4 days after Micah died. 2 seats down, a local recognized JP from the news and snapped the 2 pictures for proof. The 2 were having drinks and a bite to eat only 4 days after his wife died. Susie Skinner was also allegedly spotted on June 14th, 2024, with a tote bag slung over her shoulder, walking towards JP Miller's alleged truck, getting in, and the 2 of them driving off. Not only that, but netizens have noticed that the truck is parked on the street and not in the driveway. So they allege, it's kind of interesting if they weren't having an affair, if these are really 2 church members just trying to find comfort in each other, why would he park not on the driveway?
Wait, whose driveway? I'm so sorry.
Susie Skinner's driveway. He didn't park in the driveway. He parked on the street. It seemed like if they're not having an affair, why would he park on the street? Why can't he just park in her driveway and pick her up?
Okay. Like he doesn't want to be seen that he's picking her up?
Yes, which is, you only do that when something is weird, no? Typically. According to JP's ex-wife's affidavit, 2 weeks before Chris Skinner's death on September 6th, remember Chris confronted JP telling him to stay away from his wife, Susie? The affidavit also states, quote, "It is chilling to know that the spouses of both Susie and JP are now dead due to tragic events." Netizens are also questioning JP's alleged alibi. The police posted pictures of JP's truck in South Carolina as proof of his alibi on the day that Micah died.
But,
They even
like I
said
said,
JP was accompanied while traveling in the truck
they
in South
have
Carolina.
proof
So
that
he's
he
not
wasn't
alone.
there. I don't think he pulled the trigger because that evidence. I think he pushed her, like he got in her mind or something and pushed her. Like when I say pushed her, I mean like he escalated her situation or took advantage of her situation, put her in a state where she felt like she needs to take her life. So in my mind, he's still guilty, but he didn't actually pull the trigger. It's like that one case where there was that young teenager, and then I guess he was talking to some girl from his high school, or whatever, and she told him that he was gonna self-exit, and she encouraged him on the phone. She got in trouble because instead of doing a decent thing, being a human being, and getting help for him, she actually encouraged him to self-exit. So that's why she got in trouble for that. Yeah, you can't, someone's in an emotional state, you can't be telling them, like, oh, do this and this and that to yourself, that's going to cause some harm. You can be held responsible for that. I think a situation like that, kind of. That's my guess. I'm not a legal expert, so don't quote me. I'm just spitting back out what I heard.
Netizens wonder though, all the pictures the police provided show the back of JP's truck. You can't see who's in the driver's seat, let alone in the passenger seat. The window tint is so dark you can't even see a silhouette of anyone in the truck. And again, there have been multiple witnesses that have come forward to confirm JP's alibi, but this is just netizen opinion. Some netizens' thought processes continue. Sure, JP's car has an alibi, but to some netizens, they feel like they haven't seen the proof that he was or wasn't in that car. What if he was driving a separate car that day?
Yeah.
Netizens also questioned the police's report stating that they had eyewitnesses who corroborated JP's alibi. Because doesn't JP have connections to the
definitely
police?
involved, yes,
which
for
is
sure.
a very crazy allegation to make, collusion with the police. But netizens say, he does have friends in the police department. Not saying the police are lying, not saying that they're doing anything weird, but he does have friends. Remember that friend that gave him the pastor badge? The one that helped expunge his record? Some netizens question, hypothetically speaking, of course, if JP was able to successfully be pardoned, allegedly with the help of a police chief, what else can he get away with? Then another point made by netizens online is Micah had a necklace that she was seen wearing the day she died. Later, JP was wearing it in an interview with the local news, and people wondered, how did he get the necklace if they were separated? People thought it was strange. JP would claim that they gave it to her after he went to see her body, and he said,
There's always a reason to carry your aging 100-pound dog up the stairs.
That he immediately put it on to feel closer to her because she loved
Nice
that
put on
necklace.
performance.
Other people argue, doesn't that seem like something a narcissist would do when they had a hand in your death? It just feels very gross, is what people say. Another reason that some netizens believe Micah did not self-exit is she did not leave a letter. According to her 3 sisters, brother, and father, and loved ones, she was a meticulous diary keeper. She loved journaling. She had started to keep a record of all the alleged abuse she was going through. Micah always loved Bible study, where not only do you read scripture, but you interact with it. You often write or discuss your interpretations. She committed things onto paper, typically in her daily life. So why would a self-exit letter be any different? Why would she not have one? Which obviously for self-exits, there is a lot of impulse involved. That is a factor to be considered typically. But some netizens just said it just feels so out of character. But of course, there are also netizens who argue the points made by this theory. They argue the biggest point or contention, though, is that netizens who disagree with the theory is the CCTV footage of Micah buying the gun. They say CCTV footage is notoriously low resolution, so the tattoo that is supposed to be on her hand is probably just too small for the pixels to pick up. It was, it's like a rather thin cross, they said. Same goes for the disappearing necklace. The pixels are too small. to be picked up.
I see
You
a
also need
necklace
a
right
valid
there.
state ID
The
to
video
purchase
I'm
a weapon
seeing.
in South Carolina, meaning there's the world's slimmest chance that that footage was edited to look like Micah or that somehow a body double went in. The chances that the camera's resolution is bad is far more plausible. So with that, a sub-theory develops. The theory, not fact, pure internet speculation, is that JP killed Micah, but he hired someone else to pull the trigger and make it appear as a self-exit. Speculators say it would explain all of the confusion surrounding JP's alibi, because with a murder for hire plot, it doesn't matter where he is. It would also explain away parts of the 911 call, because if it was somebody that was hired to do a hit, allegedly, hypothetically, then it wouldn't really matter if they were just in the woods at the time that she died. They have no connection. There were kayakers, there were fishermen around. If they have no
Ooh,
connection
that's
to
an
Micah,
interesting
perhaps
theory.
the police wouldn't even look into it. It's a state park. The allegation is
Interesting.
that somebody had threatened Micah, forced her to buy the gun, forced her to call 911 and say that she was going to self-exit. But that
But she sounds so
911 call
calm.
is a huge part of the case. People say that Micah is just way too calm, that there's
Yeah.
no way someone could have forced her to fake a self-exit call like that. Well, Micah's father, Michael, did an interview with Law and Crime where he agreed Micah was way too calm. In fact, she was talking so slow, he even wondered if it was her. Michael suggested that his daughter's voice was created using AI. So this sounds really far-fetched, right? It sounds like a sci-fi movie.
AI.
But I personally guarantee you that if not now, one day we're going to start seeing AI interfering with investigations
Yep,
and
for
being
sure.
part of cases more and more often. Again, I'm not saying there's proof to that theory or trying to convince you of anything in today's case. There's no proof that AI was involved, actually. But I personally believe, in my opinion, that if AI can fake those kidnapping calls that are made to families by scam artists, then eventually, if not already, then one day AI will be present in more crimes. Another detail that netizens refer to in regards to their belief that Micah was murdered are the alleged bruises and self-defense wounds on her body. Micah's body was cremated. Yeah,
Oh, the
that's a
body.
whole thing
Yeah.
too we're going to get into.
You
but
can't investigate
her
nothing
family
anymore
did
after
go
the
and see
body's
her body, and they
destroyed.
stated that she had bruising on her wrist. It almost... Some netizens speculate that perhaps it looked like someone forced her wrist to pull the trigger, like forced the gun up to her own head. But I don't know. I do know that the Emmy is saying that could have happened after her death, during pulling her out of the lake. Some people argue that and say that you actually can. It's very hard to form bruises when you're
Yep, that would
dead
explain a lot.
because your blood is no longer circulating. Now, the family has also claimed that JP made the parents approve cremation in order to see Micah's body. Anna
Oh,
Francis
that's
said,
a
in
terrible
order to
thing.
see her, our parents, per John Paul, JP, our
So-
parents had to sign that she...
The reason why someone might use, honestly, there's some people who choose cremation as their form of being, buried, whatever. But when the cremation is forced, it's usually for two reasons. So they can't exhume the body to see if any other bruising or stuff happened, or they can't do any toxicology tests or anything because everything's destroyed. But I don't know. Do they? And especially when they avoid autopsies and stuff like that. I understand there's some people who are against autopsies. There could be nothing foul going on. They still want their loved ones being cut up and being examined like that, which I understand. But usually, you see that happening a lot when there's some foul play involved. From what I gathered from past podcasts and true crime shows, especially if they're pushing for no autopsy and no cremation. Interesting.
She had to be cremated. So either sign it and do it easily so you can see her, or you just put up a fight and you don't get to see her anyway.
Yeah, because there's no body, can't see if she was fighting back or anything. Or they can't go back because there's no evidence now. That's true.
That's really weird.
Yeah, he will later refute this. It's a whole thing. But the family said that they did take photos and videos of her body and of what they believe were self-defense wounds. And of course, the pictures were submitted to the proper authorities and are currently being kept private as the investigation continues. As of
That's
June
good.
25th,
They were smart
2014,
enough to
the
do
North
that,
Carolina
so that's
Office
good.
of the Chief Medical Examiner released a preliminary summary of the circumstances surrounding Micah Miller's death. Netizens that believe Micah did not self-exit, in their personal opinions, they do not believe law enforcement findings, and they believe this new release actually supports their claims. They point to Exhibit A, which reads, law enforcement recovered 2 spent casings and 1 live round on the bank of the river. These are the casings that Michael Franzen had alluded to in his interview with Law and Crime. And now we have the ME's report that says that there were 2 spent, meaning 2 separate rounds of ammunition that were fired, and only 1 live round was found, meaning 1 unfired bullet was found as well. 2 things about this. Like I said, netizens argue that people who die by self-exit through firearm almost exclusively fire 1 shot, which is the fatal shot. The idea that a practice shot was fired, to the netizens, feel doubtful. They believe the blowback and the sound of a round being fired is almost always enough to rattle the person, especially when they're firing with a 9mm gun, which is what she had. It is no small dainty pea shooter. This is a common choice for officers in law enforcement as their go-to handgun. And number 2, right after the ME report states 2 spent and 1 live bullets, the document says, deceased was found prone, submerged in river, beside tree limbs, about 100 feet from the casings. Netizens have argued that 100 feet is about the length of 5 giraffes stacked on top of each other, or 3 yellow school buses, roughly 2/3 the length of an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Now, there could be completely reasonable explanations for this detail, and this detail in itself is not alarming, but some netizens wonder if the gun was fired on the riverbank, where the shell casings are found, and Micah shot herself, how did her body end up 100 feet away from the casings? Now, obviously, people are going to state, oh, the current of the river. But netizens that have been to this park recently and they've seen videos, the water seems almost completely still. And the water is incredibly shallow. They wonder, what are the chances that her body floated 100 feet away when there's almost no current?
And her body was found really quickly, no?
Yes. Again, this is not a fact, it's an opinion and question posed by netizens. And one final theory from our research, the most popular theory is the theory that Micah did die by self-exit, but that doesn't make JP Miller less guilty of killing her. One netizen summed up this theory in a comment on Reddit. When you have been groomed since 14 or 15 years old, when you have reached out to the police for help and no one is helping, your church is not helping you, when your spouse brainwashed you while grooming you as a child, and then makes you feel like you're crazy, and he puts you in an institution, he steals your car and puts a tracker on your car, you get to a point where there feels like there's no way out. It is not a woman's fault if she ends it all, when it was someone else that pulled the metaphorical trigger.
You also have to keep account of that. A lot of people who are religious are against being cremated. Yeah, that's true.
Netizens also cite that the chances of the whole thing being a conspiracy with hitmen and a premeditated plot are highly unlikely compared to the chances that she did die by self-exit, but that JP should still be held accountable in some way. In most cases like this, I assume JP would release a statement through his attorney like he did and retreat to try not to stir stuff up and lay low, but
at this point, I lost track of the plot, which was to finish this drawing, but this case is so interesting. We're going to keep going. Sorry I didn't finish the drawing. The next stream I'll finish the drawing, but we're going to keep going because this is very interesting.
No, he starts posting onto TikTok. These full-length videos are going to be linked in the show notes, but they have been condensed for length here. In one video, JP starts off by saying, "Greetings, everybody. I'm here to let you know that my silence is nothing more than wisdom and self-control, so we can win the war that is up ahead. I look forward to presenting over 350 pieces of proof on what Micah thinks about her family and what Micah thinks about her lawyer and the things her lawyer's saying and the things that her family's saying. And Charlotte and all these other people that are saying things."
People forget that Micah corresponded with me more than anybody else on planet Earth. And I know her heart, and I have her text messages, and we're going to disprove all the lies that are out there. And there's so many lies, it seems like everybody thinks the world is flat. And you ask them why, and they say, well, it says on the news the world's flat. Or, you know, Robbie Stinky Harvey said that it's flat. Or JLR Never Investigates says that it's flat. But when I get to court, I'm going to show you that the world is round. And you're going to be shocked at some of the things that you see that Micah says. And we're going to find out actually who is responsible for my wife's death. And Micah will have justice when it's all said and done. And I'm going to make sure of it. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you soon. God bless.
In another TikTok, he addresses the fact that he preached the day after his wife passed and the announcement he made of his wife's passing. And he basically says, in the beginning of the TikTok, that Micah allegedly wanted a very thick wedding band tattooed on her wedding finger. He says, so that when she was working out or when we were on vacation, when she didn't have a ring, she let everybody know that she was still married. That is not something that someone who is being abused does. Which I don't think, again, is factually correct. But that could be my cluttered brain. So the reason I preached the night after she passed, the night before that at midnight, I had 5 people in my house telling me not to preach. I would be crazy for doing it. I didn't listen. It's because at first I didn't believe it. I had spent the past 3.5 months doing everything I could to keep her alive. My goal every single day to find somebody to some way get her her medicine, because I told them that she was going to commit suicide if she didn't get her lithium. And I went to her pastors, counselors, doctors, policemen, judges, friends, family, roommates, everybody.
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need.
I'll tell you what, he's a great
Full business
storyteller.
Everybody you could possibly think of, and nobody believed me. So to get that call that night that it happened, I'm sure you can imagine what a failure I felt, as well as this just can't be true. It became my worst nightmare. There's no way. And so I thought maybe the family was playing a trick on me or something. The other side of it was, I thought if it is true, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to do anything. I want to just keep living my life as if it never happened, because I was not ready to believe that it happened. So the next day I preached. I was like a fool. And then I made my announcement for everybody to be quiet and leave, because like a moment of silence, like you do in respect. I did it like I didn't want anyone to be talking about suicide or mental illness or asking me questions, or I just want them to leave and go talk to Jesus about it and then talk to me at some later date. I was not prepared to deal with any of it at all. I'm sure you cannot imagine what it's like to be trying your best to keep somebody alive and then find out they passed, and then how you handle yourself in the next 24, 48 hours. I don't think there's a manual on that. So if that offends anybody, I apologize, but I did the best that I could with what I had. And God bless. Other allegations in his series of TikToks include, he states that someone is making fun of him because he sniffs, but he says it's a tic that he's had since he was a kid, which I don't know. I'm just saying he says a lot of things, okay? He yaps a lot.
He really is a talker. Right?
Yeah, and just like everything becomes such a, woe is me, look at me, I'm so good, everybody's evil. He said the whole case is actually about mental health awareness. He alleges and claims that Micah was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder, schizophrenia, dependent personality disorder. He claims that she had several of other diagnoses by different doctors at different times all throughout the last 7 years. He continues the 2 diagnoses that stayed every single year were schizophrenia and bipolar 2. He states bipolar 2 is when you're super high and you want to give away $1,000. The low is when you want to die. He said that she had ups and downs and it was a constant struggle, but they were getting through it. He further alleges, and he makes some wild claims about her mental health, which again, I can't say for certain if it's not true, but I imagine if her symptoms were this bad, that a lot of people would speak up and say so, or that she would have done other things that people would have stories about to share. Others must have noticed. He claims and alleges that Micah would play chess with people that were not there without a chessboard. Like imaginary people, imaginary chessboard. She would hear voices or talk to people who were not there. She would forget who she was, forget that she was his wife, forget who he was, forget that he was her husband. Sometimes she would forget her family. He claims that she was, quote, deep into the schizophrenia and was delusional, and accusing him of certain things like slashing her tires or sending a naked picture or stalking her or things like that he
I'll have to
claims
go.
he
I'll
didn't
see
do.
if I come
Which,
back.
what about the
Thank you
email
for,
that he
thank
allegedly
you
sent? I
for
apologize.
stopping by.
Anyway,
Sticks
he
the
claims
cat.
he
Have a
found
great
an
one.
Apple AirTag in his car in the truck
See you
that
next
week,
stream.
and he saw her popping up everywhere he went around the week. Remember that gas station video where she's like, walk away?
Walk away.
I'll show you the pictures.
Do you want to go to jail?
They'll be on Facebook in a few hours.
Alrighty, you'll be in jail in a few hours. Walk away.
He's like recording her, and he tells her, and he's like, no, she followed me to the gas station. Like a little spy. He says mental illness is sad. It's sad. But we managed to always find lightheartedness in life in spite of it, and we always got through it. I would do things like sometimes I would play into the delusion, pretend like I was a double agent who quit their job to marry this beautiful girl, and I'd have to show her our marriage license. He alleged that her life was just so easy and perfect. He said, we worked very hard to keep her enjoying her life. She didn't have to cook a single meal. She didn't have to clean. She didn't have to work. She just had to take her medicine and enjoy life. He also alleges that he texted Micah's family offering to pay for all their travel expenses to come see Micah's body. He claims they asked for $2,500, but he gave them.
All right. I think I'm done drawing for the rest of the stream. We're going to end here, but I'm going to let the rest of this video play to end out. But yeah. This is where my drawing's at so far, so we'll finish it on the next stream. I hope you guys have a good one. If you like, feel free to follow me on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Patreon, Tumblr, TikTok, all major media and social platforms. Find me on links in the bio at Giovanni Hall Art. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye for now.
3,500. He said within 7 minutes after the family cashed the check, they went onto Facebook to post about needing money for travel expenses. He claims he texted the entire family, quote, "I'd love for you to come and see Micah's body. Here's the times that the funeral home says are best." They thumbs up the message, and about an hour after that, they posted on Facebook that I would not let them see Micah's body. Please help me understand that, is what he says. Now again, he did not release these messages. So he didn't show the messages. He didn't release the messages. But this is what he's alleging.
On TikTok.
On TikTok.
He's still talking on TikTok?
Oh, he's yapping. Oh, he stopped yapping. I think his attorney told him to stop yapping. But he was yapping.
I wonder if these will be brought up later.
Yeah. He continues, they said, I forced them to sign some cremation paper that I knew nothing about and had no idea what they were talking about. Days later, I was given this piece of paper that the mom and dad both signed saying they wanted Micah to be cremated, and they chose to have that, which I totally agree with because of the way that she passed away. I thought that was what was best, but nobody forced them to sign anything or anything. I don't even know about what they're talking about with that. They said that I pushed for the cremation to happen quickly to hide things. The national average is 3 days because after that, the body starts to smell. Which I imagine he had to look that up, which is, again, very odd. But he continues, she was cremated 6 days after she passed away so that her ashes will be ready for the funeral the next day. While the family was there, I told the funeral director, I said, let them know that I'll pay for all the urns that they want to keep the ashes in. I'll pay for the jewelry. This stainless steel cross, because he's wearing a stainless steel cross, has Micah's ashes inside. It's the only ashes I have. They have all the rest of her ashes. The funeral director called me and said the bill is going to be $18,000. I said, why? He said, they all picked out 24 karat gold jewelry. So I said, please call them back and let them know that if I'm paying, they got to get the cheap stuff. And it was still well over $10,000. But I didn't mind because the way you treat people was not based on the way that they treat you.
Oh my gosh.
It's based on your own heart.
Just exhausting to listen to him.
Yes. And so if you could help me understand the answers to those questions, I'd appreciate it. Thanks a lot. God bless. He continues, here we go, Kale. This is part B, I guess. The Francis family, Micah's family, said that there were bruises on Micah's body. There were none. I saw her body 4 times. I saw it once in the hospital, 3 times in the funeral home. The hospital that prepared her body for me to see it, the nurse and the medical examiner said there were no bruises. And Robinson County said there were no bruises. And the funeral home who washed her entire body and put her in pajamas for us to see her body said there were no bruises. So 4 independent parties say no bruises, but then you have the one who waited until days after she's cremated and there's no proof. They didn't take any pictures. They didn't tell anyone what they supposedly saw. They wait till later and say, hey, there were bruises on her body. Bruises on her body.
I thought they did take pictures.
Yes, from what I can tell, they did take pictures, but he's saying they didn't, yeah. He said, why in the world would we believe that? I literally don't understand the logic behind it. I don't understand it because let's say the Francis family came forward and said there were no bruises on her body. Robinson County said there were no bruises on her body. The medical examiner said there's no bruises on her body. The funeral said there's no bruises on her body. And then I step up and I said, guys, it's a lot. Hey, everybody, I saw bruises. I know I didn't tell you when it happened. I know I didn't take a picture. I know I waited until after she was cremated, but I saw bruises on her body. Would you believe me? Then in another video, which is probably more widely talked about, first off, JP starts the video early on by stating that Micah's mom was married multiple times. Okay. Nobody cares.
What?
The way he brings it up is very strange and disrespectful, and I imagine because of his religious background, he thinks that people will draw connection. I think he thinks people will draw connections to Micah's personality and her character based on the amount of marriages her family had.
That is crazy.
Yeah. He goes on to say, Micah, my wife, had 7. I think her mom's married 7 times. Michael Francis is the biological father. Like, he literally didn't need to say any of that because Michael Francis has been pretty vocal about this case. So, like, everybody knows. And then if you just say Micah's father, what do you mean? It's very obvious to me what I think he's doing. He said the other day on some show something to the effect of Micah's, one of her tattoos, my name, that's my signature that is tattooed on her body. He inferred that meant that I owned her and that I was controlling her and manipulative. And then I made her get that tattoo so that I could brand her and stamp her and say that she belongs to me. That's not really how it worked. She got my signature tattooed on the other side of her body, but I don't think that it means that I was controlling or manipulative. I didn't think that it means that I owned her. I don't think it was a brand.
Right now, children in Gaza worry about when they'll eat next. Hunger doesn't stop in their world.
or anything I forced her to do. It was completely her idea. I don't know why Michael would think that. But if you do think that's what it means, if somebody has someone else's name, their signature, even tattooed on their body, if you think it means that person owns them and that they are over them and then controlling them, then what would you say, Michael, about this? And whose idea do you think this was? He then proceeds to lift up his shirt to show a tattoo on his side that reads Micah Miller, but all anyone can focus on was the fact that the tattoo looks very glossy.
What do you mean?
The allegations online by netizens is that he either just got it, because you know when you just get a tattoo, it's very pigmented, it's shiny
very,
almost, because ointment is on there and it just...
Yeah, and it's very saturated.
Yes, it's super saturated. Because you recently got new tattoos. Very saturated, and then even ones that you have from a year ago, they don't look anything similar right now.
Yeah, no, you can see the difference.
Yes.
So it looks like it was fresh.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's here. It doesn't get sun. I don't know. It looks very fresh, or it looks like a stick-on tattoo.
Ooh, okay.
Is what netizens alleged. Unfortunately, we don't have proof of that. And unfortunately, the sheriff's office have stopped responding to FOIA requests, and the evidence remains under suppression orders. JP has to stop doing interviews and posting his little TikToks. And officially, the FBI have gotten involved. They are running a parallel investigation, but we don't really know anything further than that. Like what they're exactly investigating, we don't know.
So FBI got involved because there's so many people like raising suspicions on this, right?
Yes, but okay, that part is confusing because some sources, that's what it states. Other sources state that it's actually because they were reached out to since the beginning that they found Micah's body, that the police reached out to them, and that they have been running a parallel investigation. But I don't know if that's the more accurate one, because I think up until that point, FOIA requests were being taken in by that police. As of right now, Solid Rock's congregation has also decreased by a lot. Back then, before Micah's death, close to 700 people would be in attendance on Sundays, and now it's closer to about 50.
He is still talking?
He has been released from his ministerial duties. And that is the current case of Micah. And the very controversial, some would say manipulative, toxic abuser, manipulator, narcissistic pastor, JP Miller. Some would say that. I don't know if I'm saying that, because there are rumors that he's getting so happy. What are your thoughts on this case? Have you heard about it recently? I know it's been going viral, but I'm going to leave all the links for Justice for Micah's page, and I will leave her GoFundMe linked in the description. But please stay safe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.